No, we're all dead. We're all dead on the inside.
So yeah, real quick, everyone, welcome to episode 33 of Cast in Shadows. Cast in Shadows now is going to be primarily gaming stuff. We're delegating all the non-gaming stuff to a separate series. And just to start off, Star Citizen Alpha 3.14 PTU is now open to all backers. So anyone that has an account and has the game, like is actually a backer, can play the PTU and all of its buggy glory.
Hooray!
So moving on from that kind of PSA, the SteamDeck. So it was what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago now.
Something
Yeah,
like a week and a half ago, ish.
And we were talking about how it was really good. Like it's a nice, like it's a cool thing. You know, it's mobile Steam. It has its own operating system based on Linux, and you know,
yeah, so you should be able to emulate games on it and everything.
Yeah, and how you can use it as a computer, which I thought was pretty neat. Like just plug it into a monitor or TV, and then bam, the keyboard and mouse. So you have your own computer there.
Yeah, and so from my understanding, a lot of the big problems that people had with it was that it was going to be, when it first was announced, people thought it was going to be capped at 30 FPS, but it's kind of come out that there's going to be certain games where it's 30 FPS and certain games where they're going to be uncapped.
So it's going to be based on the
60,
game.
Yeah, it'll be based on game performance.
That makes sense, especially since like some games are probably going to be able to run better on it because they're not as resource intensive as say something like more Call of Duty or Doom or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a technical question. Why would you want to limit FPS, like as the manufacturer of a product? Why would you want to put a cap? To me, that doesn't make sense.
It'd only work if you knew your hardware was going to go and be not necessarily subpar, but like, for instance, console gaming for years. That would be one reason. Because you're like, hey, the hardware can't do it. If you try to actually just run it as fast as fucking possible, you're going to overheat and damage the hardware.
There'll be tearing and other issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, which is why you have things
sense.
such as VSync and a FPS cap lock, option in your game menu to begin with.
Gotcha.
At least for PCs. That's why that exists. Yeah, I mean it's a cool thing. Obviously, I like it's definitely Valve is just blatantly ripping off the Switch type thing. It's like, oh look, the Switch works. Why don't we make our own? They did try to make their own, like the Steam machines, like almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah, so originally they had it where it wasn't going to be like a handheld screen. It was just going to be like.
Yeah, it was just going to be like a little itty bitty box kind of thing.
Yeah. I do like that it has grips on like the Switch. Definitely got elements of the Steam controller, the PS4 and PS5 controllers in there as well. Looks like a pretty solid little. It reminds me a bit of the PS Vita or the PSP, but with multiple joysticks.
No, that one thing I do want to know is the weight of it is like just over a pound, I believe. So it is.
It's pretty hefty, yeah.
Heavier than the Switch here. So if you're, sitting on your bed upside down, holding it up, above your
arms
head
will get tired.
Your arms are going to get tired pretty fast there.
And that's one of the things that I found. Like a lot of these, like the Switch, and now obviously the Steam Deck, are being marketed as kind of these handheld pocket devices, but
I don't
really can't put them in your pocket. You need something to carry them around, right?
Yeah, even the Switch, you need a backpack or something.
Pocket. It's not a pocket kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, like the Switch, both the Switch and Steam Deck are pretty, large devices. Yeah, they're handheld. They're portable consoles, which is great, and definitely a more accurate marketing phrase, but not a pocket carry. They're no Game Boy, They're not like a Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color or whatever. Like those were pocket devices.
Yeah, well, I mean, even like your old kind of Game Boy size thing. It's like nowadays, and it's like you've got your wallet, your keys, your phone. You know, oh, you want to shove this in your pocket too? You're out of pockets.
Yeah, it's exactly. I mean, that was just one little thing that I know.
No, it's worth pointing out
I had an
because
issue with.
it's like you don't want to get the
Which is
wrong
why
idea.
We have to go and start normalizing men wearing European handbags. What was it in that commercial? I forgot what the fuck it was. It was like this guy's holding a purse, and someone's like, "Hey, nice purse." The guy's like, "It's a European man bag."
I think Cam, I think you're geographizing yourself, because if you go to either the East Coast or the West Coast of the States, you'll see those things all over the place.
I haven't seen them.
Well, I mean, I am in Michigan. You know, I grew up near Detroit, so I'm an utter heathen.
The miscreants.
Well, I know out here on the West Coast, you see them quite a bit, especially around the college towns.
I haven't seen these at all.
Then again, I don't know. Probably since about high school, I don't know. I'm 30 now, and I went to high school at a normal age, not like last year, but pretty much since I was
So you
in
keep
high
telling us.
school, I've pretty much been wearing cargo pants as just like day-to-day wear, and I
Yeah.
use the pockets. I don't know.
Cargo pants,
Oh,
no cargo
you're
shorts,
crazy.
man.
Fuck yeah.
I can't say I've worn cargo pants in a couple of years, or shorts at least, either.
See, I will know. I can't blame the military for it because I was wearing the cargo pants before I joined the military. So I was that kid wearing the camouflage cargo pants in high school. Yeah. Good times.
And even with cargo pants, you wouldn't be able to fit this thing in your pocket.
Yeah.
You want to bet I get extra size?
I was going to say, unless you have a cargo pants that start from your thigh and go all the way down to your shins.
Okay.
With a large pocket.
Not to divert too much off topic here, but the amount of cargo pants out there that are made specifically for you to not actually use the pockets, as like if you wanted to put like a piece of paper in there, sure, no problem. If you wanted to actually put anything more than that, like, hey, I want to go and have, you know, a spare charging battery for my cell phone if I'm out
Oh, it's
and
so
about.
uncomfortable because now you have this weight on your leg. That's
Well,
dangling
I mean,
around.
it depends how they're made, because you can have it to where it's balanced out nicely, but the sheer amount of cargo pants I've seen and gone through over the years that are made, that's obviously made by someone who had never intended to use the pockets, it fucking infuriates me. If you're gonna make them, great, do it. Make it usable, please. Rant over.
Right. So.
Alright, so moving
No, I will
on.
say it does look quite a bit bigger than the Switch, though.
I think it is. The Verge actually has a comparison between the what is it? Valve Steam Deck, Xbox Series X and Series S, and PS5. So it compares the four in terms of hardware, and they're really similar. Not all, like, you know, obviously performance target is vastly different because, you know, the consoles are targeting like 4K resolution, 60 frames per second, etc., or 120 frames per second, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think the Xbox Series X can do 8K, which do they even make 8K monitors yet?
I don't know, and even
I mean, I'm sure that one exists somewhere as a fucking test bed, but
I meant in this, like, purchasable for someone to actually buy and use.
not really. Not for your average consumer. Yeah, maybe they've got something like that for, like, you know, a fucking football field or something, but
I'm pretty sure TVs don't have, like, you know, your average flat screen TV is not going to be an 8K resolution flat screen.
No. Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, and I guess the one thing I will say is because they have the 3 different options, right? For the main thing I think is the chip and then the storage, right?
Right, so
I will
it's storage,
say
and then you
they-
can put in an SD card for increased storage.
Yeah, so the
Well, it's gonna be slow.
SSD, yeah, so it's an SSD in the second middle end option, and then an NMV in the third option. So both the second and third options, sorry. But the first option is just a normal hard drive, and it's quite expensive in Canada. I think it's like around $500, $600 right now. Whereas with a Switch, it's like what, $250, $300.
Yeah, according to their tech specs here, you can essentially all models include the high-speed micro SD card slot. All models use socketed 2230 M.2 modules, not intended for end-user replacement, which is why they have the card slot.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool though. I think it's a neat little thing. Obviously, it's a little bit more expensive than even some of the consoles out there. You know, going for a few $100.
Though I'll note
Yeah.
one of the things they did advertise with it is that it's running Steam OS, but you can go and throw whatever operating system you want on there. So you aren't locked in to whatever's already on there, and you can only like go through the Steam library. Like you can fuck around with this thing.
I like how they have the sign in is Gordon, and then you can probably guess that the password there is Black Mesa because of the amount of characters.
Not Freeman?
No, it's too long to be Freeman.
No.
Someone thought it would be Half-Life 3, but
it's the password is "This was a triumph."
it could be Half-Life, but it can't be Half-Life 3 because the hyphen.
Well, no, because I can't count that high.
That too. I'm
Yes,
making a
Val,
note
we
here.
fucking mean you. Not that anyone who works.
So yeah, here you have the
deals with
prices. So the prices vary on essentially the internal storage drive, and the most expensive one is both the middle one and the most expensive one are both more expensive than either a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or Series S.
Well, one thing I'll note. So the internal solid state drive changes between each model, but at the most expensive model, you also have the screen changing to a more hardened, more scratch resistant
anti-glare etched
version than the
glass
That
other.
is,
screen.
yeah, that is another thing.
So just one thing to really note there. So really, they had two versions, one with the screen and one without the screen. They're like, fuck it, we'll make a third version even cheaper. Throw a cheap SSD in there, and boom, there you go.
Yep, as they say here,
Yeah, essentially
anti-glare
what it comes down
etched
to.
glass screen. It also includes exclusive carrying case compared to, I guess, like a standard carrying case that the others come with.
Woohoo.
Steam Community Profile Bundle and a virtual keyboard theme. So you
And
are
see, I
getting
guess-
more. It's not just the storage. You're getting more for your buck. It's
And
just-
this was the other thing that I thought was weird. The fact that they're advertising virtual or Steam based products for their console, which I guess is one thing, but it's like, why not try and sell it based off the console? Some virtual profile bundle that I'm getting.
I don't even know what the virtual profile bundle is.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Stuff, things, stuff.
Hey, Data.
Hey guys.
Wait, we have a 5? We have a 5!
We have a 5. It's the first in like God knows how long.
Virtual profile bundle is just so you can tell people you bought.
Really?
SteamDeck.
That's it. It's like a little. So it's like a little icon. Oh, so it's like
I
the
imagine
badges.
it's one of those. You know how
The
on
badges
Steam they
in
have the
Star Citizen?
animated backgrounds and all that stuff now.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I imagine it's a bundle like that.
I thought you were going more like it's just one of those little badges that you get in Star Citizen to put on your RSI account. This way it says like, oh look, you're a gold observer because you did that one contest that they had like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That was effectively meaningless just to get that badge.
How else am I going to jerk off over all the losers who didn't get it? Look,
You know
how
what it
great
was
I am.
for, right? It was essentially you are a gold observer because you can tell you can name the ships based on the silhouette.
Yep.
It was kind of fun. I'll admit. Like it was pointless but fun.
I do think it's cool how Star Citizen does stuff.
Yeah, I like the little mini games that they have sometimes, and you get badges for it. It's kind of Except you're unlike here, you're not paying $640 something for it
Yeah.
yet. Well, I mean, technically,
so,
I guess you. Actually, no, not even, because you don't need, for those types of contests and stuff. You don't need to have a. You don't need to have a game package on. You don't have to pay the money.
one thing I will say, you're probably more likely to see this decrease in price than any of the other flagship consoles, though.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
I think as I think the reason for it being super expensive is because of what it is. It's a portable PC that can run pretty much AAA games, so it's pretty resource intensive, and that means that obviously the price is going to be expensive. But obviously, as more are made, as the technology improves, as the prices for the parts go down, the price will go down too.
I won't know. It is now. When is it supposed to actually ship? So like you can pre-order it now. When would you be expecting to get?
I don't know. Let's see.
Because I'm
Expected
right
order
now,
availability Q2 of 2022. So this isn't going to be out for a while. This isn't going to be out
a little over a
until.
year.
I would,
So wait,
yeah,
at the bottom of the screen it says it starts shipping December 20. So you're expected to get it in.
it says
Q2?
expected order availability.
So,
Oh,
that'd
okay,
be,
so-
so that'd be when Valve has hands on the stock, but they're gonna build up a decent amount before they just start immediately shipping them out to other locations.
So what I actually think it might be is right now you're not able to order anymore because so many people are reserved, and I would be guessing that they're going to ship out their first in December, and then that's the next order availability because of the chip shortage right now.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah, I think it's the case of like, okay, it will be available as a product that you can get any time starting Q2 of 2022 when they have, as you said, when they have their stock and they actually have, effectively a warehouse of these Steam Decks to sell. As opposed to right now, it's going to be like a art thing where they only have like 1 in 1,000 statues. You have to get yours now. It's like.
Yeah, because like with Switch, they dealt with massive issues with stocking, right? When they first came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I'll note too is that this really does go and have Valve really edging in on the console market, but also too, I would say it has them edging into the laptop market, because you have a lot of younger people who are like, hey, I might be on the move a lot because I'm in school or I've got work. I'm just constantly on the go here. I want to be able to play AAA games, but I'm just not in a good place to buy a big old tower unit.
Or even a good laptop.
Yeah, or even a good laptop, because it's like, hey, it's going to be huge. I got to have this huge bag with me everywhere. The battery isn't going to last too long. All this other stuff, because I want to use it for more than just gaming. I want to use it for work or other stuff. Here is a portable device it's a PC, but it's just meant to be used for gaming. I mean, obviously, you can do other shit with it, but it's small. It's portable. You can throw it in if you do have a laptop bag or a backpack or something that you're taking to school or work or whatever else. You can slip it right in there, and hey, I'm taking the subway, I'm taking the bus, whatever else. I've got an hour to chill or 30 minutes to chill. Sweet, I can go and game.
Well, and then the other thing is you're not limited to keyboard and mouse, right? In the sense that if you want to bring it, you can, but you don't have to.
No, absolutely.
There's always the option, right? So, whereas with a laptop or something, you're.
I'm also trying to think of it like in a.
Right?
Yeah, and also think of it in a competitive way, where it's like, okay, now Nintendo, since Nintendo really, Sony tried with the PSP and then again with the PS Vita, but Sony's kind of been Nintendo's been uncontested with portable gaming until now. I really hope this takes off, not just so that there's some competition there and forces Nintendo to kind of be like, we need to kind of up our game a bit, because they've been the portable gaming guys for the last 30 years.
Well, What, since the last biggest contender would have been the PSP Vita, right?
Yeah, I think it's PS Vita, PSP Vita, whatever. Yeah, it's pretty much just like a glorified PSP 2. So, but now we have this, and this is definitely going to blow obviously any of the PSP variants out of the water. And that thing was, and it had to run specific versions of games for it. Whereas here, you can really just, okay, I have, the Batman Arkham collection on my PC on Steam, right? Well, I can just play that on my Steam Deck now too, type thing. So
you can? My God.
Well, and see, one of the biggest things for me, right, is because I previously owned a Switch, but then I didn't feel like I played enough games on it because it was like, okay, I'm buying the odd Nintendo game here or there, I'm playing it, and then it's sitting for a month, 2 months, till the next Nintendo game. What I think is really good about this is I'll actually be able to emulate games and be able to play those old Nintendo games that Nintendo's selling $50 free, right? Like, you won't have to worry about sticking to only Nintendo for those. That's one of the biggest things for me.
Also, call sign, I just saw your message, and yeah, that's a good point. It's not a Stream Deck. It is like it's not cloud gaming. It's not like your Stadia.
Lies.
You actually installed games on the Steam Deck like you would on your PC.
Well, to be honest, I was confused when you guys started the topic because I was thinking of the Stream Deck, which a lot of people in Star Citizen are using as an extra console for creating different buttons. So that when I was looking this up, I was just like, what? Why are they worried about limiting FPS on this? Like, I wasn't getting it until I realized, oh, Steam Deck. Okay. And that now everything you guys are talking about makes sense.
Now, but you bring when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's a good point to bring up. That it's not a Stream Deck. It's not like your Google Stadia where it's like streaming in from the cloud, so that you end up with anywhere between 5-second input delay.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I remember seeing those videos.
Like
some guy playing Destiny, and he presses
with the diversity. If you could access like your Google documents from it, that
in
just
theory,
increases
you
that
to.
opportunity of being able to multitask with it, or not multitask, but multi-use, not just
it's
gaming,
not just a gaming. It's not just a
Right.
portable gaming console. It's a portable PC.
Yeah, exactly. You're selling it as just to gamers. You're selling it as a general use device.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's a stupid thought.
Sure.
Having now, as far as I'm aware, the Steam Deck here is not going to be portable, or I'm not. It's not going to have a touchscreen. Sorry, correct?
I don't believe.
I don't think it is, but it does have the trackpads that the Steam controller and the PS4 and 5 controllers have. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I think they'll most likely stick because there's not a lot of, I guess, computer games are really too
Because it's the
touchpad
Steam games we're
intensive.
talking about. What Steam games really
touchscreen intensive.
have touchscreen type stuff? So I have the video that they made a video for it, Steam, and they talk about they answer some questions. So they have stuff like, what OS is Steam Deck running? It's using a SteamOS 3.0, a new version of SteamOS based on Arch Linux. And then they ask also, my game doesn't have a Linux version. Do I need to port my game to Linux to have it work on Steam Deck? And then they say that isn't necessary. Your Windows build will likely work right out of the box thanks to Proton. Proton's another OS.
Yeah.
Any tips for making sure my game will be a great experience on Steam Deck? And they say plug a controller into your PC and play your game. Consider supporting Steam input and links. Install Linux and Steam on a machine to create a Linux testing environment. You can find a link. So I guess that's if you want to, if it doesn't work from the get-go. Here's like your customer support stuff. But I do hope this takes off because it's not. What's great about it is it's a kind of blatant Steam Switch type thing, but at the same time, it's a completely different thing. Like, yeah, it's a totally, at first glance, it's totally just a Switch knockoff, but at the same time, you see what it does, and it's like, oh, this is more than just a Switch.
Yeah, I think it's honestly an improvement on the Switch.
You know what? Sorry to interrupt, Cam. Were you asking about the touchscreen?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm seeing a image that that's showing a screen keyboard that looks like you're touching it. So,
That'd be pretty cool.
it's on Polygon.com.
I guess that would make sense because I didn't think about.
But to say, how do you type? That's a
if
good
you,
point.
yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be forced to plug it into a PC or into a
Well,
monitor.
The thing of it is, you might have potentially with that trackpad. Here's your on-screen keyboard. You're controlling the mouse. Tap, tap.
Or they
That's
do the
gonna be a
old,
pain in the ass.
the
though.
old Xbox.
Oh, it would be terrible.
Where you're
Yeah,
tap,
exactly,
tap, tap, tap.
I just dropped the image in the chat.
There you go. So it does have. That's a pretty neat. Kind of reminds me of like a Lenovo keyboard, so that's good. They have
Yeah,
Lenovo's
it
have a
definitely
nice
looks
touchscreen.
like it should be a touchscreen, but I would still say at this time we cannot guarantee it.
Yeah,
It looks like it is, but until you hear official word,
yeah,
Where
that
did
would
you get
still
this?
be
You
a
got this image from
concept
Polygon, you
image.
said?
Sorry?
This was from Polygon, the image?
Yes. And I'm not
Also-
familiar with Polygon, so I don't know the veracity of their statements.
There
They're
are better
pretty.
ones,
They're pretty decent, yeah.
but they're pretty good.
Um,
They're worse for sure. They're better and they're worse. They're okay.
okay, now
yeah.
imagine playing Skyrim on this thing, because we're all gonna buy Skyrim again.
Again.
Well, no, you're gonna buy the edition specifically released for the Steam Deck.
Yeah,
The Steam Deck
exactly.
version. The Steam Deck edition.
But no, I was gonna say I did find it interesting how they vied for the buttons on the back of the device instead of the front.
Touch enabled. It is a touchscreen. I'm looking on the Steam Deck site right now.
Excellent.
See it right here. Touch enabled? Yes. So it is a
So,
touchscreen.
Coolio, what do you mean more about the buttons on the back?
So the way most of the buttons are, they sit on the. I don't know if you know what a SCUF controller is for the Xbox.
Like the Xbox
branded-
Elite controller?
Yeah, and so they would have
yeah.
exactly. They'd have the buttons on the back where for extra input you could use the buttons that rest on the back. So I guess it would be your
So
middle
essentially,
finger and,
like you're pretty much anywhere from your
index
middle
finger.
to pinky fingers have buttons to
and
use
so
as well.
what the Steam Deck is doing is they're using more buttons in the back generally and keeping the touch pads on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good setup, and I do want to see this thing kind of take off. It's definitely looking better than their Steam machine.
Oh, absolutely.
And apparently we got an article here from GamesIndustry.biz talking about Steam replacing Big Picture Mode with Steam Deck UI. So they're replacing the standard version, like on your PC when you're using Steam, like any of us using Steam, is going to be replaced with the version that is now on the Steam.
Well, I mean, to be
Which
fair,
makes
they were-
sense. They're
they were
streamlining
probably
the
iterating
look.
off of it, and then they're like, "Hey, we've got this product now. We're going to use for that. Cool. Well, we're just going to update everything across the board."
Exactly, it's streamlining. And so
Yeah.
Steam is looking to replace its Big Picture mode with the new UI shown in the upcoming Steam Deck. That's according to a Valve spokesperson who confirmed the news in a recent Steam community post, saying, "We are replacing Big Picture mode with a new UI from Steam Deck." The Valve moderator Austin Int, whatever, of Imp, not Imp, but it's Imp.
Me and
Valve,
Kobe were saying.
Anyway, we don't have an ETA to share though yet, so it's pretty much they're gonna update it, but they haven't said when. Steam Deck pre-orders opened last Friday with three different versions of the handheld PC up for reservation. However, some buyers may be waiting a while to get the device in hand, as an overwhelming number of orders caused Steam to push some shipping dates back as far as Q3 of 2022.
Oh, okay, so that's what it was.
Yesterday, we spoke to a handful of independent developers to get their thoughts on the Steam Deck and how they hope it'll affect the PC gaming space. You can read that here. But yeah, so this was what's the 19th or something. This is when this article was written. It was 21st, July 21st, last week.
So is July even real?
No, it's an illusion, but somehow we're all sharing that illusion. So the Steam Deck, I think it's a pretty good thing. Also, we got some updates on the Switch on a related topic. The Switch has they came out with a new version. They came out with the OLED release model, and apparently no new model planned for Switch as Nintendo denies OLED margin increase. In an unusual move from the platform holder, it publicly denied the latest rumors about its best-selling console. Nintendo has squashed rumors that its margin will be higher with the Switch OLED compared to the current model. Platform holder very rarely comments on rumors and media reports, but it took to Twitter to deny the claim, which was originally made by Bloomberg. A news report on July 15, 2021 claimed that the profit margin of its Nintendo Switch OLED model would increase compared to the Nintendo Switch. To ensure correct understanding among our investors and customers, we want to make clear that the claim is incorrect. It also clarified that it has no plans to release another Switch for the time being, essentially denying additional rumors of a Switch Pro is still in the works.
See, I think
those have been that's been the rumor mill for years, though. The Switch Pro.
Yeah, I thought the Nintendo definitely could have done better. They should have upgraded not just the screen, but actually the internal parts as well, right? Like the CPU.
I've used a Switch, and it's a fun little thing, but it just, at least that's not my type of thing. Like, it felt like at least the games that I played on it at my friend's place, it felt very much like the Wii, where it was very gimmicky. But then again, that was just my experience. It doesn't mean anything. But I know that a lot of people have complained about the joysticks, how they have I forget what the term is called, but they have that leaning problem where like hands are off the joystick, but it's getting input. Anyway.
Yeah, it's got it's specifically the left Joy-Con in new controllers. They have a drifting problem with the
that was a drifting.
fixed. Yeah.
So and they haven't fixed it supposedly with the OLED model, which is kind of crazy.
It's just disappointing
because they got sued for it. So did PlayStation. Also got sued for their drift issues too with their controllers. Anyway, so they let's see. In its story from last week, Bloomberg said that the Switch OLED was estimated to cost around $10 more per unit to make, which would mean increased profit margins for Nintendo. And they're saying that was false. That's not true. That's not going to be the case. The publication was also at the origins of Switch Pro reports earlier this year, though rumors of an updated version of the console started as far back as 2018. After Nintendo announced a OLED model in early July, Bloomberg talked about two games industry analyst Sirkin Toto, who suggested that a Switch Pro might still be in the works. This new Switch looks more like an interim model than a real upgrade to me, he said. This might just be a dummy upgrade until Breath of the Wild 2 is ready and the component storage is over next year. Component shortage. I just said storage and not shortage for next year. Yeah, as you mentioned before, Kulios, with the chipset shortage. So, because there's a lot of games and a lot of new consoles that just released as of the last year and a half, and they can't meet demands because of the shortage of parts.
I know there's even vehicle companies like Tesla where they have the stations in the vehicle.
Yeah, because guess where a lot of these people manufacture.
Yeah, they're not able to manufacture vehicles as much because of the.
Yeah, well, some companies,
crazy.
thankfully, it's not just only manufactured in China, so therefore their reliance on that. Some are either made in America or in Nintendo. They do a lot of the stuff in Japan, and the thing is, that doesn't change facts. Like, okay, you have the lockdowns and stuff that affects your production and manufacturing. You then have all the shipping and traveling restrictions that kind of limit what can get, how many parts you can get into your manufacturing facilities, because there's restrictions on travel. How do they ship stuff? Can't go there until like we have cargo planes that are fully automated. Have a problem there, or at least that until you get rid of all these lockdowns. Anyway, that's the Nintendo Switch. It's really cool, and you're not going to see it for a good year. But hopefully it does well. I don't want it to go the way of the Dodo like the Steam machines. I mean, the Steam machines weren't that great, but this one actually looks good. So, and as I said,
it has potential.
It has potential. It kind of competes with the Switch, but also doesn't at the same time. It's essentially like, what do you want? And it gives you options too. Like, okay, I want a portable gaming thing, like a gaming console. Like, what do I get? Do I get the SteamDeck, where I can play all my Steam games on the go? As Sam said, like, if you're a student or you travel for work, that it's ideal. Or do I get the Switch, where I can play some of those games, and play some of these more Nintendo games? Kind of like, what are you a fan of? And it just adds options. Everyone likes options.
Except for those that don't.
So Cam, because he's contrary.
Never, maybe.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
He's right. No, I'm not. No.
Or not M2. Or not M2. So shall we move on to the big one?
Yeah, we could.
Isn't that it?
No. That was just a short one. Oh god. So we have Activision Blizzard. They are being sued by the Department of Fair Housing and Fair Employment and Housing for sexual harassment allegations and a myriad of other stuff. So I have the court filing here. So this was written on July 20th of 2021 by the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. And it just details, and they're representing the group, which is the group of women that were harassed. They themselves, the department themselves, is actually suing Activision Blizzard while representing the group victims from Activision Blizzard. And I gotta say, this comes as a surprise to no one, and that's kind of a problem as well. But like, this comes as a surprise to no one, because last year we had Ubisoft was also getting all these sexual allegation stuff. A lot of the head honchos of Assassin's Creed turned out to be real horrific predators.
Less than nice people.
Less than nice people. And you were telling me, Riot Games. I have an article here talking about how there's an investigation going into Riot Games of their sexual harassment and gender discrimination. That the CEO Niccolo Lawrence possibly, allegedly did. I'm saying that because, according to this, they found no evidence that he acted inappropriately. It was his former executive assistant.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, we know that it probably is.
Yeah, I think there's there's just issues with game companies and having like this culture where it's acceptable to do these.
And that's the problem, is that it's a culture in the AAA gaming industry, which is why I titled the stream AAA gaming and not Activision Blizzard, because this isn't new. It's not new. It's not just that it's not new, but it's not like, oh, it's only selected in this company and that company. It's across the board. It's like a culture within these companies that they do it. And I should say, it doesn't mean everyone in the company is, a sexual predator and should be put in jail. But
no,
a large number of them, yes.
Yeah, I mean, like,
At least in
you're-
in regards to Activision Blizzard, because apparently, this is something that even the leadership, like the leaderships, are the ones condoning it and performing it. Like they're encouraging.
yeah,
it.
so there were issues where the leadership, even it had been brought up. And so then the leadership goes, okay, well, we need to take this to HR. And essentially what happens through HR is they go, well, you're making this a problem. If you don't make this a problem, there won't be a problem.
They
So
blame the
just be
victims for
quiet
bringing
about
it up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It was, HR, to quote them, I'm forgetting on where it said it, but HR was not held in high regard and untrustworthy. To quote this.
Well, I mean, the problem is, and this is for most HR across the board for any company, HR's job is not to assist the employees.
It's
HR's
to protect the
job is to
company.
prevent the company from being sued.
Exactly.
So that is their first priority. Protecting and assisting the employees is a distant second, and anything regarding non-employees is a far distant third.
All right, but I know of someone I know who's actually he right now he's retired, but he used to work at HR for a company, and he would say, like, if and I asked him about this, and he goes, look, if you did this in my company, I would essentially, and if you did it, and then we gave you punitive action, and then you did it again, we'd fire you, like just that simple. Like, you wouldn't be welcome here. Goodbye. Like, just put it that in plain English, because, and like here they talk about in the suit how. First off, the Department of Housing, Fair Housing and Employment, they've been investigating this matter for 2.5 years. They've been investigating this matter for 2.5 years, and that means this has been going on for longer than that.
Far
longer. And apparently, like 10+ years has been going on.
And so in the lawsuit,
and it still goes on. So.
Yeah, and in the lawsuit, they state that there's a culture where men, so in general, men are delegating their work to women. It's not specific people there. Like, obviously, like you said, not everybody there is issue or committing these acts, but there is a large enough portion where it's deemed
a newly promoted supervisor delegated his responsibilities to his now female subordinate in favor of playing Call of Duty. Other male supervisors would refuse to communicate with female employees, going to their male counterparts for information.
And so I think the biggest investigation into the story, or I guess in this lawsuit, is so there was a female who worked at Blizzard, and she ended up taking her own life on a company work trip. And so what actually ended up happening was there were nude photos of her that were being shared around the company.
Trip, one of the guys
at
brought
holiday
in,
parties, there were nude photos being shared around of her. There were nude photos being shared around of her around the country. Multiple allegations of sexual harassment, and all of this. And then so I guess Blizzard. Yeah, and so Blizzard's response to this, their official response was that it's disgusting for the state of California to look into this, and even basically they're saying it's disgusting for the state of California to imply that they had a part in her death.
Here, it's in the sexual.
It just shows that Blizzard absolutely no care.
Yeah, and according to some female employees that have come out since the release of this court filing, apparently it's not just, it's not, okay, Activision Blizzard as a whole, yes, but Blizzard was doing this before Activision bought them.
Mm-hmm.
And also, yeah, as you were mentioning, in a tragic example of harassment that Activision Blizzard allowed to fester in their offices, a female employee committed suicide while on a company trip due to a sexual relationship that she had been having with her male supervisor. The male supervisor was found by police to have brought a butt plug and lubricant on this business trip. Another employee confirmed that the deceased female employee may have been suffering from other sexual harassment at work prior to her death. Specifically, at a holiday party before her death, male coworkers were alleged to be passing around a picture of the deceased's vagina. So, really fucked up shit.
Yeah, really.
Extremely, yeah.
I mean, and it's like, and the fact too that it's like, it'd be one thing if it was just like, hey, this person went and had a nude of their coworker and they're passing it around. But the fact that other people are just like, oh yeah, sure, let me see it, and not going, hey, what the fuck? You need to stop that, delete that immediately. And again, that comes down to with all these kinds of things, it comes down to your leadership, because it's what your leadership either will allow or ignore. That's what will go and then set the standard for the rest of the company.
And it's funny that you mentioned leadership,
from your
because
leadership teams to your janitor.
so the previous
Yeah, all it would
alleged,
take is a boss to say, "Hey, stop," and everyone would
the
stop.
previous allegation was here in a blatant example of Activision Blizzard's refusal to deal with the harasser because of his seniority and position. Alex Afrasiabi, the former senior creative director of World of Warcraft at Blizzard Entertainment, was permitted to engage in blatant sexual harassment with little to no repercussions during a company event, an annual, so BlizzCon, and specifically I think they said BlizzCon 2013. Afrasiabi would hit on female employees, telling them he wanted to marry, I guess that's supposed to say telling them he wanted to marry them, attempting to kiss them, and putting his arms around them. This was in plain view of other male employees, including supervisors, who had to intervene and pull him off female employees. Afrasiabi was so known to engage in harassment of females that his suit was nicknamed the Cosby suit, after alleged rapist Bill Cosby. Afrasiabi would also call females derogatory names at company events. He conduct what was known to Blizzard Entertainment's executives. Oh, his conduct was known to Blizzard Entertainment executives, who took no effective remedial measures. J. Allen Brack, president of Blizzard Entertainment, allegedly had multiple conversations with him about his drinking, and that he had been too friendly towards female employees at company events, but gave him a slap on the wrist, which in this context is verbal counseling, in response to these incidents. Subsequently, he continued to make unwanted advances towards female employees, including grabbing a female employee's hand and inviting her to his hotel room and groping another woman. That's separate. Not to invite him to his hotel room to grope another woman.
No,
two different examples. Not But
and when it's that obvious in front of everyone else, and your leadership is doing nothing, you're condoning it.
Also,
and I mean, even worse than that, there's responses from these people of power in Blizzard after this has all come out, and they're still trying to deny it and say that it's not a cult.
J. Allen Brack, right?
There's no, oh shit, okay, hey, maybe we screwed up. No, they're like, no, and if you even look into it, you're bad.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
J. Allen Brack was the president of Blizzard Entertainment. Many of you will remember him from the whole Blitzchung thing, where he was supporting of his own country, Hong Kong, who was, kind of fighting off China in regards to their independence and freedom.
Yep.
And then they censored him. Like screw it, you guys, you're not winning it. You're not the winner of the whatever competition thing anymore. And they censored him and took down his account or something. And
so they banned him from the professional.
I don't remember if it wasn't was it a permanent ban? I just don't remember. That's
no, it was like a 2-year suspension from the Hearthstone professional scene or whatever, but enough to kind of destroy the guy's career.
I was about to say, it doesn't matter if it was 6 months, it still is absurd and enough to destroy, And speaking of destroying careers...
That being said, they did go back on it after the public backlash going, hey, what the fuck? Hold on here. They did roll it back.
J. Allen Brack gave a really half-assed PR-like apology, which wasn't an apology. He didn't even mention either Hong Kong or Blitzchung by name in the apology, which was totally just stupid. But Afrasiabi here,
they won't even acknowledge that they fucked you over.
Yeah, Afrasiabi here also, he left the company just around when the Department of Fair Housing and Employment was investigating Activision Blizzard. And his reputation, for the most part, still intact. It's not like he was fired or dishonorably terminated from the company. No, he left of his own, and he's not suffering any repercussions for what he did.
But I think, unfortunately, in big tech like that, this kind of shit's unfortunately common, and just like what you would note with HR going, well, hey, if you don't make a problem, there won't be a problem. And you have people literally, because it's like, imagine this kind of shit happening at like Facebook. And it's like, well, hey, look, if you keep making problems, we're going to fire you. I mean, what's a person to do?
Yeah, exactly. Like when they're trying to confront these issues, and then they're being told, well, the issue is that you're having an issue with it.
Right. That's
it's
not
like, what
helpful.
the
You're
fuck?
part of the problem if you're saying that.
And it's like, this is blatantly illegal. And then
Oh, that's the thing, is this is
and you
all
just get told,
unlawful
well, that's nice.
discrimination.
We're going to go and cover it up.
Yeah. And so I do believe another part of the response that was released was that so basically they said, if I'm not incorrect, that they thought the state of California not properly or not legally proceeding because they didn't tell them why they were conducting this investigation. It's like, you don't need to, right? Like,
Well, you would think by and large it's like, hi, you're being investigated. It's like, if the IRS is investigating you, you're going to find out when they're like, hey, by the way, you're being summoned to court based on the results of our investigation. But they're not going to be like, oh, by the way, hey, we're investigating you. Make sure you delete all the evidence.
yeah, they're not going to say, hey, we're investigating you on this and this and this, and try to clean it up.
It's
right?
like a spot inspection. You're not supposed to know. It's supposed to be on the spot, because if you're doing
Exactly.
something wrong, you get caught in the
Exactly.
act. You don't have time to prepare for contingency.
Yeah, I think it's
But yeah, like one of the other examples they have here is, female employee. Like this is the most prevalent, the one you see being circulated, I think, the most. Female employees almost universally confirm that working for Activision Blizzard was akin to working in a frat house, which invariably involved male employees drinking and subjecting female employees to sexual harassment with no repercussion. Cube crawls in Activision Blizzard's offices were common, and male employees proudly came into work hungover. Similarly, male employees would play video games during work, engage in banter about sexual encounters, talk openly about female bodies, and make numerous jokes about rape. As a product of this frat boy culture, women were subjected to numerous sexual comments and advances, groping and unwanted physical touching, and other forms of harassment. A female employee noted that random male employees would approach her on Activision Blizzard's worksite and comment on her breasts. Female employees working for the World of Warcraft team noted that male employees and supervisors would hit on them, make derogatory comments about rape, and otherwise engage in demeaning behavior. This behavior was known to supervisors and indeed encouraged by them, including a male supervisor openly encouraging a male subordinate to buy a prostitute to cure his bad mood. Yikes.
yeah. So essentially, it's
not
like,
surprised.
as much as
disappointed.
they try to say that it's not a thing, it's definitely a problem, and
Yeah.
obviously,
Well,
like
I mean,
said,
and it's like,
culture that they're
if you just have like one or two sources or one or two pieces of evidence, that's one thing. But it's like when you're seeing mountains and mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence coming out, it's like, yeah, you just trying to pretend like, oh no, there's nothing here. Not buying it.
well, and you don't even have people who are the victim of this. You have people who are saying like, listen, I used to work here, and I seen this happening. Like,
yeah, like I was there, I saw
affected by
this
it.
shit.
Yeah. I think one Blizzard employee had talked about when he was a supervisor, and yeah, there was a female employee that came to him, and they tried to go to the HR over sexual harassment. And basically, yeah, it came down to like,
HR just going,
if you
"Shut the
keep
fuck up."
talking about it, yeah, if you keep talking about it, we're going to fire you because it's not a problem.
You're
There's a-
causing
making it a
and it's like,
problem.
wait a minute.
There's a Reddit
And so,
right now.
and he even said like he faced issues with like sexual harassment, and he knows that women at the company had it way, way worse than him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's currently a Reddit right now that I'm showing on screen that has essentially a list of employees that were like, last year. Many former Blizzard employees are talking about their experiences on Twitter. We verified their former employees by cross-referencing them on LinkedIn and included their job titles as well as how long they were at the company. And these are all people that had been harassed at the company. And you have, like the game master, senior game master and producer, Strutsik, whatever. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. You had all these people here, and how long they worked at the company, when they left, and then you can see their social media account links here. But it's kind of crazy. It's like you have all these people, they worked for the company for a year, 5 years, 4 years, 9 years. Most of them left like years ago, like in 2014. Some only left a year ago, August 2020.
Yeah. Well, and like we're saying, it's not just Blizzard. This seems to be an issue within the game development industry as a whole.
Well, I mean, I personally would say not just, and again, in a general sense, not just gaming, but in tech and just big business in general. You do have this pushback against women in general, and it's just like, you have a lot of people who are just like, hey, you know what, if she can do the job, great, hire her, bring her in, cool, welcome to the team. But you have, especially from the older generation, this idea that, oh, no, we can't have that.
Yeah, it's like women are entering into a male-dominated space, and these people are pushing back because of.
I will note too. That's not to say too that there isn't female-dominated spaces that males face prejudice in too, but that's not the focus of what we're talking about here.
Well, I think one of the things to think about, and I'm not saying this is absolutely across the board, but just this is, I guess, how my brain is kind of approaching is, you think about it, I agree with you about the type of community, which is that kind of tech / for lack of a better term, IT community, requires kind of like, you think about the skills that you develop to be able to be competitive in that market. It basically means sitting behind a computer for long hours, usually, through your teen and into your adulthood.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't promote the most social growth. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that might be part of the problem, is you're seeing a group of people who've basically just they've developed off of that community and what they see online, and they think that that's an acceptable lifestyle. And then these guys are moving up into management positions, and you're like, what's the problem? I'm not trying to justify their behavior in any way. I'm just saying maybe that's part of the problem, is that
that is a fair point.
Coming from that background, these people aren't socially developed to the wider existence of society. That's all I wanted to put.
Yeah, and I could absolutely see that. But yeah, I think it's just, and it's like, I mean, obviously it's bad no matter what company it happens at. But it's almost kind of worse with Blizzard, because they champion themselves as these bastions of morality. Like, with so many different issues, they were, you can't be sexist or and all this, when in reality this was a major issue going on in their company.
Like I said, and like I've been saying, you oftentimes see the ones preaching the loudest are some of the worst offenders, and it's just like, really, guys, at least try to practice. It's like, and it's like, no one's saying you got to be perfect. No one is perfect. Everyone's gonna fuck up. Everyone makes mistakes. But as we're seeing here, it's like, not only did they make mistakes, but then when they were called out on mistakes, they were like, oh, well, no. If you even investigate us on this, you're bad. And it's like, really?
Do you guys remember a few? So this is from a BlizzCon 2010. It was a Q&A where I'm trying to find a specific question, but it was part of, they had it here, Eurogamer article. And essentially, some chick asked the execs on the panel if we're gonna have outfits in World of Warcraft that aren't over sexualized. To quote, that didn't look like they didn't come out of a Victoria's Secret catalog. And they kind of just laughed it off. They laughed it off, talking, and then started talking about sexualized women.
Yeah, because as we've seen, of course, the stereotypical bikini armor.
Here, and you can barely hear it. But...
New guild for Cataclysm.
And that's not like not due to my volume or anything. Just the volume of the video is really horrible.
Hi there, Xantia from Kieran Tor. I love what you guys done with Little Crest. I love the fact that you have a lot of very strong female characters.
Yeah, I love how you have very strong female characters. However, wondering if you can have some outfits that don't look like they stepped out of a Victoria's Secrets catalog, or characters that look like they didn't step out of a Victoria's Secrets catalog. And you have the crowds cheering and everyone, and then yes, what do you mean? Wait, which catalog?
Would you like them to step out of?
Like, and then just laugh it off. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
next question, please.
Yeah, well, and it's like that's one thing too that's always pissed me off in games across the board, but especially like MMOs, where it's like, look, if you're like, hey, you've got, you know, let's say for example you've got something like WoW, or you got some kind of a fantasy RPG, and it's like, hi, my character is a fighter. Our whole thing is taking, you know, swords or maces, physical weapons, and hitting the enemy with it until they stop moving. Okay, that means that you're probably going to want some pretty heavy physical defense because you're getting right up there with the enemy. So that would mean that whether you're a male or a female, you're probably going to want like full body coverings. Like, you don't want to be seeing any skin here because that's a great place to go and stick a pointy object to hurt you. That being said, if and again how you're making your game, if it's like, hi, I'm a wizard class, I can go and cast spells that can protect me. Sure, if your wizard wants to just wear robes, or your wizard just wants to wear a bikini or something like that because you don't need physical protection, okay, that's perfectly fine. But one, you have to explain that in your game, and two, you need to make that the same across the board for both genders, for all of your decision outfits.
Yeah, this way,
all of your outfit decisions. Sorry, you need to make it so it's like, hey, look, if you
want to play as a male wizard, you can wear a speedo.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it's like, look, if you want to wear like an itty bitty little bathing suit, sure. Guy's gonna be wearing, you know, it's like, okay, maybe you give the guy like a pair of trunks or something like that. Boom, there you go. That's your outfit because you don't need protection or whatever else. It's like, you know, it's like if you look at the Witcher games, when you see any character, male or female, in the Witcher games who is fighting, they're wearing armor. But then, you know, you see like Yennefer or Triss, and they're wearing just regular clothes because they don't need armor because
they have sorcery and all that.
Exactly. So it's like you need to have it fit to the role, but when you have the male fighter wearing full plate armor, and you got the women wearing like, my favorite was I saw like, I think it was like a Skyrim mod or something I saw a picture of, and it was like, hi, I've got this metal chest piece that goes down to like my lower stomach, and it's like, hey, that's great. And then they just have like a pair of panties on and like some tights, and it's just like, okay, the top, we're doing some good stuff here, but the bottom, it's like, that's exactly the first place anyone is going to look to stick a sword when they want to hurt you there. Come on.
Back to the
look at it from too much of a realistic standpoint. So our culture in the past has been highly sexualized, and I don't know if that's because it's male dominated. I think it's mostly because you see it in movies too, because the sex sells. More, you have movies that have a sex scene. It doesn't need a sex scene. They put it in there because they'll have more people come watch it because of the sexual content. So it's not because it has nothing to do with realism. Star Citizen actually is one of the few game companies that says they've come out and said that their armor is not going to be overtly sexual because it doesn't make any sense. But generally speaking, games and movies have over-sexualized characters, and comic books too, because their target audience
are young
see
males.
that.
Yeah,
And it's about money.
Yeah,
it's not,
well,
it's
problem solved.
Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. That's basically my point. It's because the audience that they're targeting wants to see those things.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, you even see it in games with like even male characters, right? You look at the average male character in a game, and he's like some 6'4", beefed out, 250-pound guy just built on muscle.
He looks like
right?
Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Stereotypical
And so
Conan the Barbarian.
And so I think it's one thing to put in characters like that or armor like that if it fits the fantasy of the character or the class or whatever you're playing inside of the game. But it's another thing just to add it. It's just like, well, there you go, boom.
Yeah, if you're doing it for
Like,
both,
does it look
essentially,
cool?
if
Does
you're
it
doing
fit
it
the
for both,
aesthetic? Does it fit the class fantasy?
yeah.
Like man or not Mando, like Cam was saying, you know, are you a mage? Do you have protection other than this armor, right? I think it's just
Hey,
there's
Mando,
a lot of
can you-
easy cop-outs for
Mando,
that.
can you see if you can find the comic where it showed like it was literally on the chainmail bikini thing, and the people was like, "Hey, what the fuck? The guy's in like full plate mail, and I'm wearing a chainmail bikini."
Oh,
and then the last comic
it's in the Discord
the guy in the
server
chainmail
somewhere.
bikini. He's like, "Man, I'm so agile in this. I feel
Yeah.
like I can breathe."
Yeah,
What is this?
you have to. It's in the
It was-
Discord
it was
server somewhere
hilarious.
if you can find it. Yeah. But
Because
that,
it's like that's how you need to do it. It's like
You-
if
you
you,
need
want
to
a
do it for
chainmail bikini,
both,
sure.
yeah.
But if the guy puts it on, it's still a chainmail fucking bikini.
And that's
if you want
cool
to have
as-
plate armor, sure. But if the woman puts it on, it's still fucking plate armor, and not
Yeah,
like
where it doesn't
not,
just
not like a torso and like, hey, I've got on a pair of cloth tights. Like no, full fucking
like that's
plate armor.
what we
Come
like
on.
about Star Citizens, where if you buy armor, it's literally the same exact armor for male and female. It's
Well,
just
yeah,
a
I was
little bit.
gonna
It
say-
just
Well,
fits the
I
body.
will say there is a slight bust and there is a slight waist tapering, but that's
I know.
it.
I said it just fits the
But
body.
it's not
You know,
over-sexualized.
they'll just fit it to the
Correct.
body.
Not
Correct.
fit the body.
Well, yeah, and it's like you said, where it's
even the non-armor outfits that we've been getting, at least so far, have all been very, very similar, very classy. I would say.
yeah.
Even
Yeah, I
the
get what you're
stasis,
saying, though,
even
but where you're like,
you don't have like micro skirts or anything like that, or
It just comes down to non-emphasis. It's just
Exactly.
functional.
yeah.
it's just like we get
It's
it.
okay to
That's what
have
some people do,
aspects
but
of-
we're not doing that here. It's kind of just like why do we have to do it if it doesn't
And
make any sense
that's also not
story
to
wise?
say,
So.
like you can have, if you want to have sexy stuff in your video game or your media or whatever, that's perfectly fine. But make it across the board.
Exactly. And yeah, I get what you're talking about. Where like, you know, maybe in a game I get an item on say a male character and I trade it to a female character, and all of a sudden it's a totally different
Right.
looking item. Like it's
It
not
makes
the
no
same.
sense. And it's like okay, look, to I'm not saying like we need to have like, hey, I found these pants of fortitude, but they're a waist size 36 and I wear a waist size 30. Okay, no, that's fucking silly.
Yeah, it's just
I'm
like,
perfectly
okay.
fine with clothes shape shifting to the character's body, but even still, it should still be very recognizably the exact same piece of clothing, whether it's a man or woman putting it on.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like,
In my
oh,
opinion.
the stomach's cut out like you said on this for the female model, but all of a sudden it's there for the male model. Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, or it's like, hey, it was a jacket on the male model, but now it's a jacket that's open and a tube top for the women, and it's like, where'd you get that from?
It makes it makes no sense, and that's part of the problem. Is that you're not doing it for both. You're just doing it for one. That's what I think. You need if you're gonna do something like that.
Now that being said,
You need to do it
there's
for both
very
sexes.
clearly sexualized armor for males too, and a lot of stuff. I
Which
mean,
is not wrong.
when
There's
you
nothing wrong
literally
with
got,
that.
like you said, all the guys in pretty much all like video games are Conan the Barbarian walking around there. You've got like the standard like loincloth Conan the Barbarian style armor in a lot of them, but even still, it's like when you compare that to the female outfits are much more sexualized. Whereas
Yeah,
the
they
male
lend
outfits
to
are
the
much more-
sexualization of it
Yeah,
a lot more.
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so
And like I said, it's perfectly fine to have those as options, but that shouldn't be the standard.
okay, so we're behind on the chat because there are actually people in the chat. Victor Wolfong
Wait,
says
there are?
that's
Wait,
yeah,
my
I know, right?
God, people watch us?
That's a big problem with large corporations in general. And then he says we live in an age of transition, the middle of humanity's a teenager in puberty transitioning from a feral childhood of centuries ago to our enlightened adulthood of centuries from now. What?
I mean, one thing too. Never assume forward momentum is always good.
Oh, to our enlightened. See, he said A-R-E. So it says R, but our enlightened.
Which, just because we're
adulthood.
moving forward doesn't mean we're necessarily moving forward to better things. We hope they're better things,
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Even the Joker fears the IRS. Yep. These companies don't fear anyone, clearly. Oh, except for the politically correct mob.
Just to touch back onto the original issue, though, it's like, yeah, you can tell within, not even just inside the company, but the way they're making these games and all. There's an outward issue, but it's obviously a lot worse within.
Oh
the
yeah,
companies
and look,
private,
here's
right?
one of the allegations that we didn't read yet, but it's a big one in my book at least. Female employees were also not promoted because of Activision Blizzard's discriminatory practices against pregnant female employees. A female employee working on one game team has assumed some of the responsibilities of a manager, but when she asked her male supervisor about being fairly paid for the work she was actually doing and promoted into that position, the manager commented that they could not risk promoting her as she might get pregnant and like being a mom too much.
Like, the fuck?
Yeah, so there was
Because,
massive issues with maternity leave and stuff.
She was pregnant, because it'd be one thing if it's like, hey, you're pregnant. You know, if you were pregnant, you're out of work for several months here. We're gonna have to go and roll some things back. They're not even saying that. They're saying you could potentially, by nature of your gender, become pregnant, and so because of that, no. Like,
it's not even gender. It's just by nature of becoming a parent. It doesn't matter if you're male or female.
Yeah, well,
a male can
that's a good point.
can enjoy being a
how many
father.
single dads are out there? There's a good number of them.
Like, what the fuck?
It's like, fuck.
Well, and I know there was like they were saying, oh, we're not going to put you like, so originally they'd be the lead on a project, and then it's like, well, they get pregnant, and oh, well, you're gonna have to take maternity leave in 9 months, and yeah, you're not gonna.
They wouldn't promote them because they can get pregnant. That's kind of the point. Is
well, and I mean, it's like
even then, if you are pregnant, right? You have to imagine. Say, if I'm pregnant, and obviously I'm a guy, but
then that's a whole world of problems, anyways.
Right.
But go on.
And I'm working on a game, and then they say, well, and I have my child or whatever. I mean, I'm not a big game developer or whatever, but I imagine it's not too hard to say, okay, let's substitute somebody else into this position now.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the nature of contingency plans, and you should have that for everyone, whether it's the CEO, whether it's your project leads, or anyone else. You should never, ever have your entire company or an entire department,
or even a single project, rely on one person.
Here's what throws a wrench in their concept. We can't make you a manager because you might be struck by a car walking across the street next week.
Exactly.
That's the same.
Well, that's what you know. What if say this woman was sterile? That's when say this woman was sterile, then they would use that as an excuse instead.
Well, I mean, also too, it's like, because you might have a child and leave. Cool. So that means that what you're saying is your contingency planning is so terrible that this department could not recover from someone who has 9 months to prepare.
Leading up to
so you're not maternity leave isn't the entirety of the pregnancy; it's post-pregnancy. So
it's like you're telling me that you're so shit at planning that 9 months pre-warning isn't enough for you. Like,
and as you said, that's
fired.
not to say. Who's to say even that it is going to be the woman staying at the house? It could be the father, could be the mother, could be anybody staying with the child.
Yeah, babysitter or grandparents.
Could be daycare, right?
Yeah.
Why would you sit on the baby?
Because they need to be compressed.
And this is the thing, though, is that we're kind of going in a circle here because, not in a circle, but off topic in that we're talking about if she was. She's not even pregnant. They're saying that they won't promote women because they might get pregnant, because they can physically get pregnant.
That was my point with, like, you might get struck by a car walking across the street.
Yeah. You might get hit by lightning. You might get eaten by a shark.
Fucking happen if your entire division, project, whatever. Now, that being said, if you're like some itty-bitty company and there's like 5 people total at the company, okay, that's one thing. But when we're talking about a huge corporation, we're talking hundreds, if not thousands of employees, probably thousands, honestly, across all of Activision.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're saying if you have any departments anywhere across the board from the CEO on down that could not survive, there was one person that gets hit by a car and they go into a coma for 6 months, and hey, because Bob was in a coma or Sue was in a coma, hey, the project's just done. We just can't do it without them. You, whoever their management is, you have royally fucked up if you cannot recover from that.
Well, and from the way it sounds
like
like
a manager.
From the way it was
Exactly.
put, it almost sounds like they're saying,
job.
yeah, exactly. And from the way it sounds, they're not even saying like, listen, we're saying that you're doing less work and you're not having to pay. They're saying you're doing the same work. We're just not going to give you the.
And that leads into some of these other things here.
You do have that across the board in a lot of businesses, to where they'll have you fill a like manager or supervisor role, but they won't actually give you the pay. I've heard that countless times from coworkers in other companies and stuff. To where
but I believe,
that alone is not just a female thing, but
at least I believe it's for a different reason, right?
Yeah, but that alone says that's really bad, because that means that's pretty much a business standard of corporations and businesses going, hey, we're going to make you do this work, but we're not going to fucking pay you for it because
exactly, it's a way of like, okay, you're not in this role, but you're doing that role's work, but that means we don't have to pay you for that role's work.
Yeah, and I've had that be proposed to me where it's like, oh, it'll be a trial period, and it's just like, well,
I just want to say, so
no, I would like to be fairly compensated.
Megan one in the chat. Megan one in the chat saying, "Hey guys, Activision was behind so many great games. Why are they causing problems?" And then he continues saying, "Even Joker can't stand Nazis." Well, you don't have to censor yourself, Megan one. We don't censor ourselves. Why should you? Referring to the DC Marvel crossover in the 90s. But yeah, why are they causing problems? Because they're not. They are the problem. They're not causing. Well, they created the problem. So much,
yeah, see, I don't think they intended to cause these problems. I think they intended to keep them kind of hidden, and then not ever speak about them.
Pretty much, bottom line is,
if I just grope you every day, geez, just don't see it as a problem. Yeah,
so the problem here is that Activision Blizzard, they've 20% of their workforce are women, and they've been mistreating them to hell and back. It's kind of crazy. Like here, in general, female employees were further treated negatively due to their pregnancies. Supervisors ignored medical restrictions given to female employees and gave them negative evaluations while they were out on maternity leave. Other female employees reported that they were criticized for leaving to pick up their children from daycare, while their male counterparts were playing video games, and female employees were kicked out of lactation rooms so employees could use the rooms for meetings.
Yeah.
Rooms specifically designated for breastfeeding parents or breastfeeding women, because unless a male can all of a sudden breastfeed. But rooms specifically designed for that.
And you're feeding the kid,
and you're kicking them out so that you can have meetings. You don't have designated meeting rooms.
Yeah,
you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
If you have a building big enough to have lactation rooms in it, you've got other fucking rooms you can have.
Even if you don't, you have the money to create. Just get some drywall. Not even real that. Cheap. Look, I can set it up for you.
I was in the Army, the U.S. Army, and it's like, look, you want a meeting? Cool. You grab some fucking hallway space. You grab your fucking notepad and you hash that thing out. If you need an hour to get your meeting across, it probably didn't need to be a meeting.
Exactly, and the other thing is, like, why lactation rooms? Like, I can't imagine these are rooms with massive desks and chairs for a bunch of people to sit down and meet. Like,
yeah, you think it would probably be a pretty sparse room, maybe like a couple of tables against the wall, maybe one or two chairs, not much.
Just an idea. Considering the problems that we're seeing that they have already, is they probably went and took just a general boardroom and went, let's call that the lactation room so that we can say that we're compliant
you're
with
probably
providing that workplace environment. But then when push came to shove, they're like, oh, we need that boardroom.
As with a lot of companies, we're going to do nothing. We're going to give lip service, as we've seen Activision Blizzard do, but we're not going to actually change how we act.
Well, I mean, we wrote a name on the door, so that makes it official.
Exactly.
Another one was women of color were particularly vulnerable targets of the Activision Blizzard's discriminatory practices. an African-American employee, noted that it took her 2 years to be made into a permanent employee, while men hired after her were made permanent employees. She also was micromanaged such that her male coworkers were known to be playing video games without any intervention by her supervisor, but her supervisor would call and check on her would call on her if she took a break to go for a walk. Another African-American employee who worked on information technology was similarly micromanaged by her manager, unlike the men on her team. When she requested time off of work, her manager made her write a one-page summary of how she would spend that time off of work when no one else had to do any write-up.
Come on.
I know, right? It's
When
like, no,
I-
I will
When I
not
read
write...
that, it made me think of the Army.
Makes me think of The
That
Simpsons.
is
Yeah, I will
something
not,
the Army
write
Oh, they
this
do.
on the chalkboard 1,000 times. The
No,
male
I think
supervisor...
For a while there, the Army was actually making, in order to stop people from abusing alcohol, the Army was actually requiring people to write down what they were going to do while they're on their weekend liberty. You know, their
How would
weekend
they check
off.
up on it? How would they make sure you
No,
weren't lying?
what it was is if you fucked up, because you
Ah.
basically before you could go home, you had to write down what your itinerary was of what you were going to do for the weekend, and then if you fucked up, they would pull that out and go, "Hey, you got in trouble at the bar on Saturday
didn't
night.
say you
and
were
you
going
didn't
there."
write down that you were going to go to the bar, so now we got you."
The difference
Which is
here is that they
absolutely
weren't
crazy.
doing it only for women. They were just they
True.
were-
Well, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's fucking.
I'm not
it's
trying
fucking
to
stupid
imply
even for
they're
the
the
Army.
same. It just made me
He's saying
think
that this
of, like,
reminded him
that
of
level
that.
of
Yeah.
stupidity.
Yeah, it's
The
reminding him...
Army does have its own level of stupid.
Yeah, you're saying
Yeah.
that it reminds you of that level of stupidity, and that's not a good
Yes.
thing.
Yes,
The male
exactly
supervisor,
right.
the male
Yeah.
supervisor also criticized her body language, despite male counterparts slouching in meetings, and she was scalded for asking for assistance while others could get help on similar tasks without the same criticism. These experiences led female employees to leave their employment with Activision Blizzard. And then we
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
as a
yeah.
result of these discriminatory pay, assignment, promotion, and other practices, Activision Blizzard's gender pay gap is significant. Activision Blizzard paid female employees significantly less in base pay and total compensation than their male counterparts. This pattern or practices and violations were continuing and are still continuing.
Yeah, and from my understanding, there were also issues where there were male people who had been hired, and they were basically going to these female superiors and being like, "Hey, can you do this work for me?" And the supervisors, like the female supervisor or the female workers supervisor, sorry, were going like, "Deal with
This is your work.
like
Your fucking
this
work.
is somebody who's been working there for a month," and they're saying like, "Do my work for me," to somebody who's been working there for multiple
That's not
years.
how delegation works.
Then we got when women complained to human resource personnel about the lack of equal employment opportunities, especially in comparison to their male counterparts, their complaints fell on deaf ears or were met with an empty promise to investigate the issue. Indeed, despite having retained Paul Hastings LLP from 2015 to 2017 and Miller Law Group in 2018, who allegedly provide analysis related to the compensation data, Activision Blizzard failed to take effective and reasonable steps to prevent pay discrimination, as the pay disparity between male and female employees was not remedied and continued.
And that right there, I mean, that alone
Is illegal.
is it's already against federal law.
Everything here is
And
illegal.
That's a juicy lawsuit just in and of itself.
Especially in California, where this is all based, because anyone doesn't
Oh,
know,
fuck
Activision Blizzard is based out of Santa Monica, Burbank, and Los Angeles of California. I think their main headquarters are in Santa
I would
Monica.
not be surprised to see that entire office closed.
I think the main one I think is Santa Monica, but I could be incorrect there. It might be Burbank, but I know mainly Santa Monica, and yeah, so they have to abide by all these California. California has some really strict like employment fairness laws for good reason.
Well,
Except clearly you can get away with it,
those down?
no problem, if you have the money and lawyer power.
No, that one.
And the
But
intimidation, because keep in mind, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts to speak out about this shit.
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong. But didn't California, I thought, as a state in 2020, or at least there was a bill put forward. I don't remember, I don't think it passed, but to remove their anti-discrimination clause for
Hiring.
for the state.
I would
don't
have
know.
no
No,
idea.
I don't follow California legislation that
Let
closely.
me see if I can find anything there.
While you do that, I'm just going to continue here real quick. Activision Blizzard terminated female employees more quickly than their male counterparts. This pattern of practice and violations were continuing. Activision Blizzard's discriminatory practices adversely affected women in compensation, assignment, promotion, and termination. Activision Blizzard failed to take effective steps and remedy and adequately correct its compensation disparities, despite its awareness that such disparities existed. And also, Activision Blizzard's discriminatory practices continue to the date of this complaint, which was July 20th, and they continue even now, to today, as we now know from updates on the story, as we now know.
And I've seen some people saying like, "Oh, blame the this CEO or that CEO," and it's like, no, this is
wasn't just the CEO.
It's been a problem for a long time. Something like this doesn't just happen within the last 2 years. This is a pervasive.
Well, I mean, it's like if you're working in an area, it's like, okay, hey, I've got 16 team members all on the same team I am. You're all grouped up together with your cubicles. Who's gonna be really interacting with you guys day to day? Your immediate supervisor. They're gonna be seeing this shit day in, day out. And if they're not saying anything about it, I'm going, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's like that's not just something like get yourself one scapegoat and kick them off and let it all continue.
No, it's a
and
widespread.
one of the things I haven't seen a lot of articles talk about is the discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. So whenever they would report something to HR, they would get it's not just like, okay, HR is not going to do anything about it. It's now that, okay, they reported about, Joe Schmo, right? Joe Schmo tried to, essentially rape me in the office. Now Joe Schmo will retaliate because you spoke out, and now there's like a fear mixed in with all this, sexual allegation nonsense. I shouldn't call it nonsense, but all this messed up shit.
Yeah,
and it's
well, essentially these people are being told like, what you did is wrong, what this guy did isn't wrong. And if you don't agree with that, then you're gonna have to write down this entire essay about why right and why you're wrong.
No, that was just that specific. I think that was just that specific employee. Her supervisor made her write an essay what she would do with her free time, as it reminded.
I thought I had seen something else about.
Maybe there was something else, but it's not listed in the original court filing.
Had made somebody to write an essay about why they were wrong for like.
But one thing to note too, though, is that on top of that, with that retaliation, that would then mean that HR, like you were saying, is not only just sitting on the complaints and not doing anything, but that they are actually going to, you got Bob, and they're going, hey, Supervisor Bob, one of your employees was saying you were like groping her or some shit. Yeah, you might want to do something about that. It's like, and that alone, if there's retaliation there, that would be falling at least in large part on HR, because that means that how HR handled that.
Oh no, HR was totally disregarded or regarded negatively.
Exactly.
So.
But that means that not only are they just ignoring it, but on top of which they're communicating back to the person who was actually offending, who was being the harasser, that, hey, so and so was is telling tales about you. What the fuck?
In any other legal definition, that would be conspiracy, as in you are conspiring to be part of whatever the problem is. Like,
exactly. You're not
tax
wrong.
evasion or
right.
burglary or any of that kind of stuff. That's conspiracy. But yet, for some reason, when it comes to HR type stuff, it's acceptable. Apparently.
Well, we're HR. We're always in the right, even when we aren't.
Yeah.
It continues here, though, saying,
broken.
Yeah, the problems of harassment and discrimination extended to and at a minimum were known to those at the top. Activision Blizzard's former chief technology officer was observed by employees groping inebriated female employees at company events and was known for making hiring decisions based on female applicants' looks. An employee complained to Blizzard Entertainment president J. Allen Brack in early 2019 that employees were leaving due to sexual harassment and sexism. Specifically, this employee noted that women on the Battle.net team were subjected to disparaging comments, the environment was akin to working in a frat house, and that women who were not huge gamers or core gamers and not into the party scene were excluded and treated as outsiders. Female employees had raised further complaints to various human resources personnel about the discrimination they faced, including but not limited to complaints about unfair pay and assignments, male coworkers belittling them or minimizing their contributions, and male counterparts being promoted quickly despite their lack of seniority. Similarly, female employees also complained of the harassment they suffered, including that male coworkers groped them, that male supervisors asked them on dates, and of other unwanted harassment. Activision Blizzard failed to take reasonable action in responses to these complaints. Such a lack of effective remedial measures was not surprisingly given Activision Blizzard's own internal investigations into their human resources unit noted that there was a big lack of trust and that HR not held in high regard. Multiple employees also noted that their complaints were not kept confidential, as we just mentioned, that they're literally being reported back to the perpetrator of the crime, so to speak. In retaliation for complaints they made regarding harassment and discrimination, female employees experienced retaliation by Activision Blizzard that included involuntary transfers, selection for layoffs, and denial of projects and other opportunities. So it's not just the people, the persons that, initially caused them to report to the HR, but the company itself is punishing them for reporting to HR. The company itself, the higher-ups or whatever it is, are then using their power and seniority positions to then punish the discriminated employees and sending them off to whatever it is so that this way they can get back at them. Activision Blizzard's flawed policies and practices effectively allowed and continued to allow discrimination to occur in Activision Blizzard's workplace. Employees have suffered and will continue to suffer harm from Activision Blizzard's ongoing unlawful policies and practices, illegal practices, unless they are enjoined by this court. So, and it's you can continue reading and it's horrible. I mean, they have here government code. I can skip this, but discriminate. Let's see, employment practice for an employer to discriminate against the person in comparison or in terms of conditions of privilege of employment. So essentially, they're hiring based on how good they look, and then discriminating against them for being women or for essentially, it's horrible. It's like reading. It's like you see it. It's like, what are we reading? Something from the 1920s? It's like this is horrible.
Yeah, and so here's another quote. So Alex Afrasabi, who's the he was a senior directive creator or senior creative director,
he left in 19,
and he left last
right?
year. Yeah, so he was specifically named in the lawsuit, and it was so Alex Afrasabi, the former senior creative director of World of Warcraft at Blizzard Entertainment, was permitted to engage in blatant sexual harassment with little to no repercussions. During BlizzCon, Afrasabi would hit on female employees, telling them he wanted to marry them, attempting to kiss them, and putting his arms around them. This was in plain view of other male employees, including supervisors who had to intervene and pull him off of female employees. Afrasabi was so known to engage in harassment of other females that his suite was nicknamed the Crosby Suite. Or the Cosby Suite, I think.
Dude, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's like...
I think at that point when it's like you literally have to be grabbing someone and physically removing them from another employee, like at that point it shouldn't matter what gender they are. Like, one, if you're putting hands on an employee and they're going, hey, please stop touching me, please stop touching me, please stop touching me, that is battery. By legal definition, that is battery.
And it's not like it's somebody who, it's not like they're trying to cover up, one worker. It's like,
yeah, it's not like
somebody who's
like,
in a massive position.
One CEO.
Yeah,
well,
it's
to me, it's also
in multiple positions doing it.
It's also when an individual is known, like has a reputation, that tells you right there. Like, this isn't the first time It's a repeated
Exactly.
thing, and people are talking about it openly.
Well, like there was
That's-
at my old job, which was IT tech support. There was a employee in the organization that was so known for being abusive to tech support that literally just when we were being trained on the job, and we had about 3-4 weeks of training on all the systems, this person was um, pointed out to us by the trainer, going, "Hey, by the way, especially yeah, if you get this guy in like the first week, just let me know immediately. Just say, hey, give me a moment. I need to go transfer you here," because he is so bad. He had been banned multiple times from contacting the help desk because of how bad they were. And it's like at that point, it's like remove the fucking employee. They're
Yeah,
showing
exactly.
they are willing, or rather, they are unwilling to learn and change from their behavior. This behavior is a problem in the workforce. Cool. You
Yeah.
either go, hey, you need to stop doing this. If you are unable or unwilling to stop doing this, goodbye. There's the door.
Yeah, and so that's what they should have done. And this is the response that was released by Blizzard instead of getting rid of these people. So it is this type of irresponsible behavior from unaccountable state bureaucrats that are driving many of the state's best businesses out of California. That was part of the response. So essentially, they're trying to blame the state of California.
Didn't Sony recently just set up their main headquarters now? Their new main headquarters in California?
I'm not sure, actually.
Because I know we talked about it a few I think a month ago or so, but like they're Americanizing the company now. They're ignoring their Japanese audience and roots, and they're in favor of some big movie blockbuster style game titles, and they're Americanizing the company. They're actually moving their headquarters, I think, to California now. So he says that, yet one of the biggest gaming companies of all time is moving to California. Like,
Don't get me wrong. There's plenty that I'll go and fucking rip California a new one for. There's plenty of stupid out there, but at the same point, like that, no, you're just bitching because you got caught. Don't fucking lie.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and here's the thing: is some of the stuff like here's part of the charges that that the court filing states. Activision Blizzard discriminated against women by paying them less than men because of sex, in violation of Government Code Section 12940, Subdivision A. Defendants intentionally discriminate against women in compensation. For example, defendants offered women lower compensation at hire, assigned them to lower paid and less opportunity levels and roles, awarded them less incentive pay and or equity pay opportunities, and afforded them less advancement and other opportunities than their male counterparts. Activision Blizzard's policies, practices, and or procedures have resulted in unlawful disparate impact discrimination against women with respect to compensation opportunities. For example, Activision Blizzard offered women lower compensation at hire, assigned women, and it kind of repeats because it's a court filing and you have to repeat because lawyers are lawyers.
Hooray.
But Activision Blizzard's unlawful employment practices, female employees suffered. As a result of it, female employees suffered and continue to suffer harm, including but not limited to lost earnings, lost benefits, lost future employment opportunities, and other financial loss, as well as non-economic damages. As well as later, I think they list somewhere of like what they're suing them in terms of like why, like what the damages are, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about some of the stuff I just listed, and I'm trying to find where the hell I don't remember the specific. Like I read through all of this on Friday night. But I'm trying to find. I read the entire thing. I'm just trying to find a specific category. I don't remember what number it was. But you have, it's just all the charges that they're bringing against them because they did illegal. Like this isn't just like a case of they mistreated their employees type thing. Like they're suing them for, like I broke my leg at the company. I'm saying no. This is they were doing blatantly illegal activity at the company.
Yeah.
And they're suing them justly for it.
Just giving unequal pay based on gender. It's like, hey, me and this other person were I'm a guy, she's a girl, and we were both hired for this one position, and he's starting off with 20,000 a year more than I am. That's illegal. That's holy shit illegal.
So for one person, that's illegal. For an entire company, that's a class action lawsuit. That is massive.
Absolutely.
Which is why they're getting a class action lawsuit from the Department of Fair Employment and Housing.
Exactly.
Though the only thing I will note is that unfortunately in most class action lawsuits, the actual people hurt by the defendants in them, even if they win the case, we usually don't see much. Unfortunately,
No, they're not.
There are exceptions, but
we haven't seen much with Ubisoft. Unfortunately, they had something similar to this last year.
Yeah, and again,
what's come
there's
of it?
Ubisoft. There's another. It's like fuck.
And this is what I like about this, the court filings. Like, they'll actually state what specific guidelines and sections they're in violation of, like what laws they're breaking.
Yeah.
And what they should do. Like, okay, Activision Blizzard's actions discriminate. That they demonstrate that they will continue to engage in the pattern or practice of unlawful employment discrimination and unlawful disparate impact discrimination prohibited by Fair Employment and Housing Authority or agency, unless they are enjoined pursuant to the police power granted by Government Code sections 12920 and 12920.5 from failing or refusing to comply with the mandates of the Fair Employment and Housing Agency, Government Code section 12900, etc. So it's like, yeah, like they're not kidding around. Like, this is serious charges.
No, like this is like company ruining charges.
At least.
Yeah, like I said,
even
I
if the
would not be
charges don't ruin the
surprised.
company, I think they already have themselves. You?
I would not be surprised to see at least that entire office be just closed, like it no longer exists. I don't know about the company itself. That would be you would have to see some pretty huge shit coming out of there, but
You'd probably see, if it was going to get to that level, you'd probably see them, basically close it down, but move people and change the title.
yeah.
Start a new company.
Yeah, we're totally a new company.
Yeah.
We're called Activision and Blizzard.
I think, unfortunately, though, no matter what, the people that are in charge right now, that's going to...
Oh, it should.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely, yeah.
The fact that it's gotten to this level and they're showing that it was so widely known,
it was normalized
throughout the company. That's, you just, like,
Well
all your
said,
management
Cam. It was
needs to be
normalized.
gone.
That's the problem.
Yeah, really.
It was normalized throughout the entire company and throughout the industry as a whole, I think. Like, look at all, like, as we just said before, this is not the first AAA gaming company to do this.
Yeah, Ubisoft.
Riot Games.
And how many other large tech companies have we seen the same kind of shit? And I'm looking at you, Google.
Hollywood as a whole, pretty much all of Hollywood.
You're not kidding there. But don't worry,
like I said,
they tell us there are moral and ethical superiors.
I was going to say, it's especially gross, though, because it's not like there are people who are acting as these moral, exactly superiors. Enlightened companies were so much morally superior.
Like here, so the original story, which broke from Bloomberg Law, talk about video game giant Activision Blizzard Incorporated, maker of games including World of Warcraft, Diablo, Call of Duty, Guitar Hero, etc. Fosters a frat boy culture in which female employees are subjected to constant sexual harassment, unequal pay, and retaliation, according to a lawsuit filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. A 2-year investigation, it's actually a little over 2 years, according to the actual court filing. But an over 2-year investigation by the state agency found that the company discriminated against female employees in terms of conditions of employment, including compensation, assignment, promotion, etc. Stuff that we all read in the actual court filing. But yeah, female employees make up 20% of Activision's workforce and are subjected to pervasive frat boy workplace culture, including cube crawls in which male counterparts drink copious amounts of alcohol as they crawl their way through various cubicles in the office and often engage in inappropriate behavior towards female employees.
That should be being done in your fucking office place in the first place.
No.
Like you want to go for a bar crawl, grab your buddies and go the fuck to the bar, not in your fucking
No, they're
work
literally
office.
on their hands and knees crawling from cubicle to cubicle.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
not like a
inappropriately
crawl as in
touching
they're
women.
going to different places.
Oh.
They're like crawling around.
They're literally
Yeah.
crawling on the floor, going from cubicle to cubicle, touching women.
Why?
Because they're
'Cause they're
deranged
creepy.
psychopaths.
Okay, for all 3 people that watch this, don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs.
I think one of them actually is a kid. Which is cool, I guess. Important information. Also kind of ruining your worldview, but okay. Anyway, causes of action: employment discrimination because of sex, retaliation, failure to prevent discrimination, harassment, equal pay. That's something that a lot of the articles haven't mentioned, but they do mention in the court filing here, and that is that the Department of Fair Housing and Employment, during their investigation, did try to work in conference and to mediate with Activision Blizzard to stop this, to essentially prevent the discrimination and to put a stop to all of it. And Activision's like, nah. So because they were not like, okay, you guys aren't doing this. Like, you guys aren't working with us out of court. You guys aren't working with us in conference and through the mediations. We're taking you to court. Have fun.
And it's like they're literally like, hey, we can try to go and sit everyone down, work this out, try to actually see what's going on, keep everything nice and simple. No, go away.
Yeah, like here, 6 cause of action: retaliation, government.
Wasn't there?
Yeah.
Wasn't there something in there, Mando, about the fact that actually, I believe, the state tried to sit down with them repeatedly, got told no, until the very end, right up to the deadline, and then all of a sudden, they literally the hour of the deadline. That's when Activision went, oh. Hey, yeah, no, we want to sit down and remediate with you, but you haven't given us enough time.
And then afterwards, they're going like, oh, they're not telling us why. What is this? What is this for? Like, they're acting like it's a big surprise that this is happening.
They're like, bullshit.
When it's been 2 years going. It's like they were investigating you for 2 years, and like within the last year, they were saying, hey, we need to mediate this problem. Like, it's a big problem. We need to solve it. And they're like, nah, fine.
Go fuck yourself.
So here, in regards to retaliation, though, Government Code Section 12940H states that it is unlawful employment practice for any employer, labor organization, employment agency, or person to discharge, expel, or otherwise discriminate against any person because the person has opposed any practices forbidden under this part, or because the person has filed a complaint, testified, or assisted in proceeding under this part. So essentially, if you go to HR, it's illegal for them to then say, okay, like you complained about something in this company, we cannot take action against you because we didn't like what you said about us. Like that, it's illegal for them to. It's illegal for what Activision did regarding their HR department and regarding like women complaining to HR supervisors, whoever it was that they complained to in the company, and then the company or individuals in the company, taking revenge, essentially retaliating against them. That is illegal.
Yeah, it's quite literally to stop what happened from happening. Right? Like it's so these women would have been able to go to HR and say,
and then solve the problem
CEOs are acting like.
I swear, one of these days, if we ever do a sequel, like type episode to this story, I'm getting a friend of mine, an old neighbor of mine who used to work in HR department, just so that he can talk about his experience compared to this. But to continue, after female employees engaged in protected activities such as complaining to human resources, Activision Blizzard took adverse employment actions against female employees. Such adverse employment actions included, but was not limited to, denial of professional opportunities, negative performance reviews, forced transfers to less favorable units, constructive termination, and selection for reductions in forces and layoffs likely based on discriminatory criteria applied to formal and or informal evaluations of performance. So essentially, it's like we're gonna literally the phrase, I'm gonna destroy this whole man's career. So literally, I'm gonna destroy this whole woman's career because they said something I didn't like.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like that part of being HR is that you should be preventing this. That's what part of your job should be. Whether or not it is, well, as we've seen, HR oftentimes likes to just go and cover the company's ass and no one else's.
And as a result of Activision Blizzard's unlawful employment practices, aggrieved female employees suffered and continue to suffer lost earnings, benefits, etc. But in non-economic damages, which included but not limited to, this is what I was looking for before, emotional pain, humiliation, embarrassment, belittlement, sadness, mental anguish, some cases probably mental illness, and in one case suicide, and an amount that will be determined at trial. So they will determine in what amount that will be
In what amount they
equate
damaged
to
them.
in damages during the trial that will take place soon. Activision Blizzard's actions were willful, malicious, fraudulent, and oppressive, and were committed with the wrongful intent to injure the group, which the group in this context, as stated earlier in the court filing, which you can read for yourself if you want. But the group is the aggrieved female employees in this context. Injure the group and in conscious disregard of their rights, which is true. And it's true, Activision Blizzard was willfully and maliciously and fraudulently acting oppressive and downright evil.
Yep.
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard engaged in, and by their refusal to comply with the law, continue to engage in unlawful employment retaliation, including a pattern of or practice of unlawful employment conduct and disparate impact of the same, unless they are enjoined pursuant to the police power. You know, saying more the same, like, okay, we need to stop these people from stepping all over human rights, women's rights, and
see, and that's
state
a problem.
and state laws and government federal laws as well.
Yeah, when it's deemed such a problem that the state has to intervene,
Like, for fuck's sake.
it is
This is what you
beyond
guys
the
were talking about
point
before.
of, like, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, so seventh cause of action in this suit is what we just talked about a little bit, was the failure to prevent discrimination and harassment on the of the group of the women. Government Code section whatever so states that it is unlawful employment practice for employers to fail to take all reasonable steps necessary to prevent discrimination and harassment from occurring. Like, literally, you are breaking the law just by not doing something to prevent it.
Yeah, and that's
Government Code
preventing it.
section
They're doing
12940
even worse
subsection
than
K.
that.
Yeah, it's like you aren't just ignoring it, you're at the
You're encouraging it, and you're enabling it, and you're
Complicit in the process of it.
Yeah.
What's
like the
instigating it? You're furthering it along. But yeah, essentially, if something is going on at your company, like, it doesn't, just broadly speaking, if you have a company and you have something that's going on there, and at least in California, because I don't know if and you're not doing anything to stop it, you're violating Government Code section 12940 subsection K, apparently. So there you go. But the Activision Blizzard violated Government Code section 12940 section K by failing to take all reasonable steps necessary to prevent discrimination and harassment of employees. And this doesn't matter, by the way, like, what the employee is. Just harassment of any employee.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if men, women, Latino, Jew.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if somebody
Russian,
touched
like,
somebody
it
once,
doesn't matter
or
who
it
it
doesn't
is.
matter if somebody was there touching the person over and over again.
Well, I mean,
If it's harassment
I would
against
say
anybody.
if it's something like if you put a hand on a coworker's shoulder and they're like, "Hey, please don't." Okay,
Yeah.
don't do it.
Right, and
know,
obviously
it's
you go case by
like-
case with what your
Yeah,
punishment
yeah.
would be, but the fact that there's no repercussions at all speak.
Yeah, but it's like in
And,
that case, you got a verbal counseling telling you, "Hey, it's not all right. They said to stop. You stopped? Cool. No problem. We'll all move on with our lives. Great."
And if you don't stop, you get fired.
And that's where the paperwork
Exactly.
trail is supposed to start, so that when it happens a second and a third time, you go, "Hey, we've got it documented that this isn't the first time you were told not to touch that person."
So, see ya. It's...
And from the sounds of it, it's not even like, it just sounds like there's issues with touching people in general. There's just issues with.
Oh, it just sounds. These people are
not
clearly
knowing boundaries in general.
These
right?
people are clearly just, like, depraved human beings. Like, I mean,
To be honest with what I'm hearing, it's not even about them not knowing. They to me, it's they know full
Oh,
well.
yeah, they
It's just
totally
that's
knew.
what they're doing.
That's not in question
That's
here.
acceptable.
Yeah, no, as Cam said, it's not a question that they knew. That's not what's in question here. Not even like that it was normalized, because that's the thing. It was normalized in this company, and probably in the greater industry as a whole. But we're talking specifically about this company here. Activision Blizzard normalized this, as they put it, frat boy type culture in their workplace, in their offices. They had the cube crawls. They had that unfortunate employee that killed herself at a holiday party. At the same time, and at the same party, a male coworker brought a butt plug and lubricant.
Yeah.
And in a previous holiday party, allegedly, her vagina, pictures of her vagina were being passed around the office or wherever the party was.
And I think, honestly, that's one of the grossest parts of it.
Yeah.
How Blizzard seems to think that California is in some, and I don't even know if this is what they truly think, but they're implying that explicitly implying that California is doing something wrong by investigating this death is just
absolutely.
Are you kidding me? I'm glad they're investigating. California is finally doing something right.
They're just doubling down on their wrongness.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that just upsets me is when I think about this in the context of what if my daughter or sister or mother worked at one of these places?
Exactly.
How would I feel about that? That's just wrong.
You're telling them to get the fuck
Well,
out.
yeah, it's not even that. It's the idea of this could be happening and you wouldn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because
these companies are doing as much as they can.
Yeah, until you read about this court case, you wouldn't know. Because let's take a realistic situation here. Let's step back and look at this hypothetical situation of, say one of our relatives, sister or someone works at Activision Blizzard before this lawsuit being filed. And do you think they're going to talk to you? Maybe they will, at some point. But when they start working, do you think they're going to talk to you about how awful and how they got touched and this and that, or do you think that they're going to be, they're going to keep it closed in because of how traumatizing and awful
not
experience
only that,
it
but
is?
especially out of fear that they might be demoted or even lose their job.
Now, granted, that definitely varies from person to person. Whereas maybe one woman will come home and immediately talk to whoever they're coming home to about it, whereas some will just keep it inside and because guys do the same exact thing, where it's sometimes you just experience something that you want to forget about it, never exists, never happened, I don't, you want to erase it from memory, and other times you're just I need to tell someone about this because this is I can't handle this alone or whatever it is. So it definitely varies from person to person, as well as varies depending on how much time you've had to deal with it. But you bring up a really good point, Consul. It's bad enough for it's just horrible all around. There's nothing. It just I don't think I can even put the words how horrible this is here.
There's absolutely nothing redeeming about Blizzard right now.
No.
Zero.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And this was never a company. I know a lot of people have a soft spot for Blizzard because of all the games they've made. Personally, I've never had a soft spot for Blizzard. I've never been one of those guys that played all these Blizzard games, World of Warcraft, whatever. I never played them. So I never had that connection that others did to the company and the games they made. And Activision, same thing. Really, my first experience with Activision in terms of playing their games were some of the superhero games they published. They didn't even make them; they just published them.
Yep.
Their logo popped up during the startup of the menu. That was it. And I'm okay. It's so what? I want to play the game. So I don't really care. I don't have any connection. I don't have any emotional tie to this company because they made a game for my childhood or something. So I never really thought of them in a high regard to begin with, and this just sets them. And as of late, I've always thought them as pretty low between their predatory monetization and digital casinos in all their games, to their just shitty quality games as of late, especially with Blizzard. And now this, it's is there a 10th level of hell? They can go there.
Maybe.
Hey, they're going all in, Don't half-ass it.
Yeah, this is like, and as we're saying here, like back to the court filing here. They didn't. The seventh action was they did not prevent the discrimination, or even they didn't even try.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like it wasn't just a failure to prevent it. They didn't even bother trying to prevent it because they're like everyone in power, at the very least. Majority of the executives and those in power and in positions of seniority and authority in the company, in Activision and Blizzard, were the offenders, were the perpetrators of the crime in question.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eighth cause of action here says failure to prevent discrimination, harassment again, but probably talking about the different types, because how many freaking discrimination? You had the sexual allegation, the sexual harassment. You had the equity and equality discrimination. They weren't getting equal pay or equal opportunities and all that. Like, there's so many things wrong here.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the one on EA. Like everyone always jokes like evil, like EA's evil actual, like trying to like add a name to Electronic Arts, right? Like it's not Electronic Arts, it's this. I think it's easily accessible because of all the hacking stuff we'll get into later.
Sure.
But yeah, here it's like, and they're listing so many. Like here's another government code section they broke. Government code section 12965 Charlie. From failing or refusing to comply with mandates from the Fair Employment and Housing Agency of female employees' rights to seek or hold employment free of unlawful discrimination, harassment, and retaliation will continue to be violated here if nothing's done. So, like, here's more. I really hope that the Department of Fair Employment and Housing wins. I mean, and I can understand something like, how would they not win? To which I'd say because all these multi-billion-dollar corporations have a team of lawyers, and if those don't work, they bring down a new team of lawyers. I mean, Disney's notorious for their legal department just completely breaking laws and DMCAs and essentially abusing the DMCA, the Digital Millennial Copyright Act, to essentially acquire things. For instance, fan art and fan projects that are following fair use and copyright laws. They're working alongside that. Yet Disney will just steal it, and the artist will only find out after they see Disney use it, and after which the artist can then sue them. But between the fact that they can either just they have their team of lawyers that will out-argue your cheap lawyer, because let's be honest, you're not going to be able to muster the amount of lawyer power that Disney has. And they can...
Really?
Activision Blizzard recently, the same company that we're talking about right now, they won a copyright lawsuit against them because they stole someone's character. Remember that GI Bro, that the WWE guy?
Yeah.
The former WWE guy, created some character called GI Bro for a book or something, and they literally just copied his character, like literally stole the character and used it in Call of Duty. And they won the lawsuit because of a really bullshit thing. And we covered it a few weeks ago. It was just like, because they have more money and more lawyers, they won. Because you have to continue paying your lawyer in order, for a lawsuit, and eventually the money runs out. Whereas for these guys,
goes on way too
these
long.
companies can stretch out that lawsuit for a while.
That's you and your lawyer. You as an individual and your lawyer, you have to take time out of your job, which means you're not getting money, which then you need to pay your lawyer to go and conference with your lawyer to appear in court. Whereas Disney, hell, the executives aren't even going to be in court. Fuck no, it's going to be their lawyer team.
Yeah,
they're
and
going to
in
go
the case
around
here
their
of
normal day.
And the case here of Activision Blizzard, they're just they don't have to do anything other than just stall and drag out the court hearings until you run out of money and forced to withdraw.
Yeah, it's utterly disgusting
because they're an empty money pit. Here and in labor code 1197.5 subsection A1 states that an employer shall not pay any of its employees at a wage rate less than the rates paid to employees of the opposite sex for substantially similar work when viewed as a composite of skill, effort, and responsibility and performed under similar working conditions. So here's another reason, they're unequal pay. That's another thing that they're, like, as Cam said, like, that alone is a lawsuit that they can easily win in ideal conditions. And and thankfully they're adding it to the charges here. Another charge is waiver rights, forms, and procedures to and release of claims. Government Code Section 12953 defines as an unlawful practice of employers. Where the hell? Just continues here. Violation of Section 432.6 of the Labor Code, of which that section of the Labor Code states that a person shall not, as a condition of employment, continued employment, or the receipt of any employment-related benefit, require any applicant for employment or any employee to waive any right, form, or procedure for a violation of any provision of the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, or this code, including the right to file and pursue a civil action or complaint with, or otherwise notify any state agency, other public prosecutor, law enforcement agency, or any court or other government entity of any alleged violation. And so I guess that was when they were saying, like, no, we are willing to talk. It's like, nope, too late. Based on information and belief, the Department of Fair Employment Housing alleges that Activision Blizzard required female employees to waive rights, forms, and/or procedures as a condition of employment, continued employment, or the receipt of any employment-related benefit, including but not limited to an adjustment payment, adjustments as well, so it's separate, or severance pay in violation of Labor Code Section 432.6 and Government Code Section 12953. Like, so that's illegal. That you're essentially, in order to work for us, you have to sign this form that says we can mistreat you and we can, in order to do things that is legal according to labor laws. According to labor code, like, they violated labor code with this, just having employees waive rights and forms and such to work at the company. Let's see. Then
I wouldn't be surprised if Blizzard starts to crumble a little bit more.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, like, after this, I know it's a little kind of, I guess, I need to say, like, I hope they go down. But after what I'm reading here, and
they could stand to be taken down.
And now we have confirmation from various like actual employees, especially, you can just go to that. If I'm going to put this in sources later, but you can click on any of these links and read specific employee stories. And I have screenshots of some employee stories as well. It's not pretty.
Nope.
Here, as further result of the unlawful employment practices of Activision Blizzard, the group has suffered lost earnings, lost benefits, lost future employment opportunities, and other financial loss, as well as non-economic damages, including but not limited to emotional pain, humiliation, embarrassment, belittlement, sadness, mental anguish, and probably, as I listed already, it's like, this is, and here, this is what they're trying to win. They want compensatory and punitive damages, unpaid wages, liquidated damages, and other remedies and penalties available under the Equal Pay Act, injunctive relief, declaratory relief, equitable relief, including but not limited to reinstatement and/or front pay, pay adjustments, back pay, lost wages, and benefits, including base pay, incentive pay, pension benefits, and awards, in an amount to be proven at trial, prejudgment interest as required by law, attorney's fees and costs to the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, and other relief the court deems to be just and proper. And this was all filed on July 20th, 2021 by Ramdul Vong, attorneys of the Department of Fair Employment and Housing.
I'm going to bow out here.
Okay.
I got to head out.
Yeah. See ya.
I'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Don't die.
Bye.
So yeah, this is it's a big deal. I think again, it shouldn't come as no surprise, unfortunately, but it is still a big deal. People need to be held accountable for your actions. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen oftentimes too, like, look exactly how they were acting. Like, oh, you're going against what? How dare you?
Activision Blizzard actually responded, obviously, since then. Because it was July 20th. It's now July 26th. And the original story of this broke on July 21st, anyways. So 5 days later, we got Activision Blizzard saying that we value diversity and strive to foster a workplace that offers inclusivity for everyone. There is no place in our company or industry or any industry for sexual misconduct or harassment of any kind. Tell that to Ubisoft and really all of AAA gaming. A spokesperson for Activision Blizzard said in a statement, "We take every allegation seriously and investigate all claims and cases related to misconduct. Action was taken to address the issue." So they are saying that there was misconduct. Because you're saying, we value diversity, that's a load of PR bullshit. It's not, they weren't claiming that that didn't happen. And then here, they say, and that they did take action, supposedly, and even though they didn't, clearly, they're confirming it did happen.
Details.
Then they continue saying, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing includes distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past. We have been extremely cooperative with the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, not according to them, throughout their investigation, including providing them with extensive data and ample documentation, but they refused to inform us what the issues they perceived. No, didn't seem like they refused in the court filing we just read.
Seems like they were pretty thorough, actually.
It sounded really thorough. It's one of the most thorough court filings I've read in a long time.
And like we said, and obviously, so the lawsuit alleges that the state of California tried to work with Blizzard to have it fixed. So I highly doubt that.
Yeah, they literally say towards the beginning here.
Even if they were, just because they didn't tell you why they were investigating you, does that mean it's okay that all these things were happening in your company?
Yeah, it's like
does that justify
it? Doesn't change. Yeah, it doesn't change what happened in your company just because they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you go out and kill somebody, and then I say, "Hey, listen, you did a really bad thing," and you're like, "Okay, well, Or you know what? Actually, I seen. I can't remember who it was.
This is
but it was basically it was like an analogy, and it was if your boss walked into you, shitting on the floor of your office, and he told you, "Get out of this, get out of here. You're not working here anymore, right?" And then you came back 2 days later, and you're like, "Well, you didn't fire me because you didn't tell me why you fired me." Well, it's obvious what the issue was. Like, it doesn't need to be brought up. Like, you were doing something poor, and you were caught for it, right? Like,
yeah. Also,
they don't need to tell you this was the problem if it's that obvious.
Yeah. Also, just to clarify, they said female employees are subjected to constant sexual harassment, including having to be continually fend off unwanted sexual comments and advances by their male coworkers and supervisors, and being groped at the cube crawls and other company events. Like the cube crawls were more than just people crawling from cubicle to cubicle and then touching. Like, they were actually groping them and probably doing some other nasty stuff.
That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. And as I say earlier, first off, they go into detail about the company itself in the beginning of this lawsuit, and then they talk about the executives, how they're mostly male and white, and how look at the pay they get. Bobby Kotick, the CEO, in 2020 earned a total of $154 million. That's crazy.
Yep.
Hey, I am gonna have to go here.
Okay.
Like I said, some family.
Right.
Yeah, good that we were able to talk about this.
Yeah, because I think people need to actually hear about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll probably see you guys.
The jury of that court has a real task ahead of them.
Watch them all just be like, "We didn't see nothing."
Yeah, probably because they've all been paid. Paid in for.
Jury tampering never happens.
It'll be a big surprise when all the fingers point in the same place, but not at themselves.
Yeah, and here, this article talks about how we're saying how this isn't just Activision Blizzard. The lawsuit against Activision Blizzard Incorporated could be a crucial step to forcing the video game industry, which has faced persistent allegations of workplace sexual harassment, take meaningful steps toward gender equality, and according to advocates. The California Department of Fair Employment and Housing sued the maker of World of Warcraft and other, we already know this. But workers have turned to social media to publicize similar allegations against prominent video game developers such as Riot Games and Ubisoft, and individuals in the gaming world, including executives, designers, and writers, such as Fraziabi and others. However, industry-wide change will occur when allegations hit companies hard financially, said Elizabeth Tippett, a professional at University of Oregon's law school. Tippett said regulators are trying to send a message to the industry. One of the things we need to see over time is a consistent pattern of really big settlements, really big verdicts. Companies generally aren't that motivated to take aggressive approaches unless there's a lot of money on the line, or PR. According to the DFEH suit, female employees were we already read all this, but it's just a tip of the iceberg. I mean, this suit kind of is a tip of the iceberg in a way.
Yeah.
Sure Scarlett worked as a software engineer at Blizzard for a year, starting in August of 2015. I saw and heard about some of the most heinous things I've ever heard of, to the point where, when I was sexually harassed and groped, I didn't think it was a very big deal because I had heard so much worse. I think she heard of it while working at the company. Like, it's normalized to the point where it's just normal. Like, that's how it is there. Like, you go to the company and expect it. That's horrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scarlett said the culture of secrecy around releasing new games, arbitration clauses in employee contracts, and lengthy non-disclosure agreements are part of the reason employees don't speak out. When you're in this culture of secrecy, keeping things secrets before they ship, people are literally scared that they can't talk to anyone about what's going on in the company, so they don't talk to a lawyer because they don't know their rights, and they don't think anyone will believe them. So there's a reason for why some people don't speak out until now. Independent game developer Rosa Carbo Mascaro likened the recent claims at Blizzard to a third wave of #MeToo allegations in the gaming industry. Last year it was Riot, another time it was Ubisoft, and the indie scene is also not exempt. There have been a lot of brave, marginalized people who have come out about the abuse they suffered at the hands of men in the industry. And continuing, what is truly upsetting is that the stories we hear in public are only the tip of the iceberg. A handful of stories and names get passed along whispered networks, and thousands more stories never even leave a small circle of trusted friends. And they actually have next steps. Wow, Bloomberg Law, way to go. They have like a whole article here saying like what the next steps would be. But yeah, this is nothing new, and that's the unfortunate. I have here an article from last year regarding Assassin's Creed, literally a year ago. This is from July 21st of 2020, and apparently looks like I won't be able to read this article because Bloomberg wants me to pay for it. But essentially, reads Ubisoft sexual misconduct scandal, harassment, sexism, and abuse. And for a summary of it, we can just go to this gaming industry, because we read this a few weeks ago when we talked about Ubisoft going into a live service game with Assassin's Creed Infinity. But
This is going to be terrible.
Yeah. But they talk about how a lot of their main guys either left or are being investigated because of last year's last year's sexual allegation scandal, which is still, it just because it was last year doesn't mean it's done. It's still going. There's still problems.
Yeah. Shit takes a while.
Last year, Gamasutra report on Ubisoft, based on interviews with more than a dozen former and then current staff, included allegations that Demont was a verbally abusive bully, while Cote had a manipulative leadership style and was aware of abuse within his teams, but looked the other way. And this is from Ubisoft. You know, it's like you have several different companies doing this. That's the problem.
And the fact that they think that it's just not going to catch up to them, they're going to get away with it.
Also, apparently, but since the original story broke, we've had a lot of kind of updates on the news based on like Activision Blizzard, as we read, you know, some of their PR statements. But we also have Blizzard boss accused of failing to address sexual harassment, which is true. He did fail. And yeah, in that, by the way, in that whole thing where she was asking about the less sexualized clothing, you know, this is how they respond. J. Allen Brack, the CEO of Blizzard, says, "Hey Alex, what catalog is that Tarn female coming out of?" And then Afrasiabi says, "Not one you'd read." And then Brack goes, "Sexy, sexy cow business." Apparently, the Tarn are cow race. I don't know. I don't play World of Warcraft, so I'm regularly reading the article here. But it's like you're just laughing off these statements. You're not like they think they can get away with anything because they have so far.
Very much.
And this is not the first time we've heard of Activision Blizzard, and Blizzard specifically, talking about overpay and, in the case of the employees themselves, being underpaid. Because we have an article here from August 3rd of 2020. Now, we also have an update from the 21st of July. Activision has responded to the DFEH's suit with a lengthy statement that calls the DFEH into irresponsible behavior from unaccountable state bureaucrats. Their words. And we already read most of it, you know, it's talking about their diversity.
Yeah. Is there anything else on this, or is it just kind of more of the same here? Because we've been kind of...
I know, we kind of hammered this to death. I'm looking right now, because I actually haven't read this article yet, which I only read some of the Bloomberg articles. Read? I tried. Here, so from here, they were required by law to adequately investigate and to have good faith discussions with us to better understand and to resolve any claims or concerns before going to litigation, but they failed to do so. Instead, they rushed to file an inaccurate complaint, which I think is a load of bullshit. They had a lot of time to file that complaint. As we will demonstrate in court, we are sickened by the reprehensible conduct of the Department of Fair Employment and Housing to drag into the complaint the tragic suicide of an employee whose passing has no bearing whatsoever in this case. I think that's bullshit. And with no regard for her grieving family. While we find this behavior to be disgraceful and unprofessional, it is unfortunately an example of how they have conducted themselves throughout the course of their investigation. It is this type of irresponsible behavior that from unaccountable state bureaucrats that are driving many of the state's best businesses out of California, as Coolio's already read before. And then they continue saying the picture the DFEH paints is not the Blizzard workplace of today. So it did happen. And even if it wasn't of today, so what? That's still bad. Like, people still need to be held accountable. It's not just because some guy murdered someone 20 years ago. Oh, well, it's only 20 years ago, so it doesn't matter now. No.
Yeah, it's like that's not how that works.
Exactly. Over the past several years and continuing since the initial investigation started, we've made significant changes to address the company. So here you're already contradicting yourself, because here you said it didn't happen, and they're claiming, and everything they're claiming is distorted or false. Yet here you're saying that it did happen, and you're changing without the need of a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
We've updated the code of conduct to emphasize a strict non-retaliation focus, including the ask list with a confidential integrity hotline, and introduced an employee relations team dedicated to investigating employee concerns We have lengthened our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and combined our employee networks at a global level. Blah 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 blah. Yeah.
It's like it's showing, and it's like I'm sure they're gonna scramble to go and throw in shit something together real quick and be like, oh look, everything's fine here. No, everything's fine. There's no issues, right? Everyone said there's no issues. There's no issues. Yeah, see, everything's fine. You don't need to worry about it.
This is real rich, by the way. We put tremendous effort in creating fair and rewarding compensation packages for our executives. For the executives, yes. For the employees, hell fucking no. And we strive to pay all employees fairly and equal for or substantially similar work. For equal or substantially similar work. So literally just like reading, the.
Well, if you start giving employees stock options, maybe we'll talk. But
it's a load of. I think this is a load of shit. I think that they're
absolutely.
Yeah. It's essentially we didn't. They contradict themselves in their own statement.
Well, I mean, I
in the same statement
that all of these documents were prepared by a lawyer specifically to go because one. As you saw, the very language, it's very.
Oh, it was very much like another lawyer is going to read this and go, "Wow, this is a good argument and stuff."
It's just meant to be read by another lawyer. It's very legalese. It's like you didn't. Actually
which is why it repeats itself a lot.
Yeah, you didn't actually have an actual employee of the main company go and write that out. Not even close.
Even in the same thing with the court filing, it's like you can tell a lawyer wrote that, but the department did the research. It's essentially that was a group effort. You can tell just by the findings in the read, when you're actually reading through it. And here's an update from July 22nd. Further examples of alleged treatment of mothers and black employees added to the story. So, which we already read off. We already know that. And Eurogamer did an article that kind of talks about Blizzard feedback. So Blizzard developers criticize corporate statements on recent allegations. By the way, supposedly there's a World of Warcraft strike or something going on. So I don't remember where I have the article, but they're essentially you have players either just leaving the game, straight up, or just here. No, this isn't it. I don't know. I'm not going to find this clear. But the article here, talks about how. Yikes! So JL and Brack to staff addressing. So Blizzard Entertainment President JL and Brack sent an email addressing the staff of the allegations in the lawsuit, calling them extremely troubling. In the email, he commits to meet the staff to answer questions and discuss how we can move forward, and continues saying, I disdain bro culture and have spent my career fighting against it. I feel angry, sad, and a host of other emotions. But I also feel grateful to work alongside a set of leaders and thousands of employees who join me in their commitment to continuous improvement. Which is all a load of BS because the gaming industry hasn't done any improvement in a while. But
well, I mean, also too, it's I guarantee they're gonna go and I guarantee you right now, if it hasn't already, that you would have had documents being put out on, hey, here's how to be a good employee in the office.
Like you're gonna have old employee guidelines and stuff.
Also, they can go and parade it out in front of, mainly for the court, so they can parade it out and go, look at our current training documents that we made just a week ago. That shows how committed we are. And since these practices were established about a week ago, has any harassment actually happened? Well, no, but see, it's I don't know what these allegations are all about. It's so they have a dog and pony show to throw out there, but it's going to be about 10-15% of what actually needs to happen.
And one of I have it on screen here, but Fran Townsend, who's the Activision Blizzard Executive Vice President of Corporate Affairs. By the way, also the whole point of this article is how a lot of Blizzard devs are saying like, no, what the company's saying does not represent us, like some of us. You know, they agree with the with the lawsuit. And like, like, and all these quotes here are kind of just like all, you know, different developers talking about how they don't represent, you know, company's Twitter account doesn't represent us, or I stand with the Activision Blizzard victims and believe their stories. Change has to come from the top. You know, these are all just quotes from various devs that are agreeing with us.
This shit's happening. This shit's real.
And the vice president said, Fran, as an executive sponsor of the Activision Blizzard employee of the ABK Employee Women's Network and our chief compliance officer, I want to reach out to you. I think this was executive. So Jason Schreier posted this and said that it's Activision Blizzard executive Brand Townsend, who was the Homeland Security advisor to George W. Bush from 2004 to 2007 and joined Activision in March, sent out a very different kind of email that has some Blizzard employees fuming. The email reads as follows, saying, I know this has been difficult for many of us. A recently filed lawsuit presented a distorted and untrue picture of our company. By the way, they say company like 9 times in this thing. It's crazy. Including factually incorrect, old, and out-of-context stories. If they're old, why the context doesn't matter? Like, that means it happened. Some from more than a decade ago. That means they still happened. The Activision companies of today, the Activision companies that I know, are great companies. That's all one sentence, by the way. When I joined,
they might be great. That doesn't mean that they aren't.
No,
assholes.
this says company 3 times. Like, they're not. This isn't. They don't care about the employees. They care about the company itself, about the organization. When I joined the executive leadership team, I was certain that I was joining a company where I would be valued, treated with respect, and provided opportunities equal to those afforded to the men of the company. For me, this has been true during my time as a leader. I am committed to making sure that the experience I have is the same as the rest of the organization. We have a leadership team that is committed to these principles in every way. I am proud to be part of the company that takes a hardline approach to inappropriate or hostile work environments and sexual harassment issues. Our Speak Up campaign reinforces our zero tolerance. By the way, what the fuck does zero tolerance mean if they condone it? A load of shit.
Also, too, I hate, especially because of schools and how they do it. I hate the lip service given to zero tolerance, because oftentimes you'll see abusers
saying
will call it for their own behavior, and oh, you're gone. You know, it's like you have the bully saying, oh no, they were the bully, you know, to their victim as one final fuck you. Oh, you're out of here. And it's like, what the fuck? You had no, you know, and it's like, and if there's no evidence, that'd be one thing. If it was one single story or anything like that, you know, okay, it'd be one thing. But it's like you literally have mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence. You have former employees and current employees going, hey, yes, this absolutely did happen. You know, this is absolutely true. Don't listen to what the fucking, you know, execs are saying. Of course, they're going to cover their ass.
Also, the fact that she's saying for me, like, yeah, so this doesn't happen to you. That's great that your experience was top notch, but everyone else in the company that isn't an executive is having a really rough time.
Yeah, and not to mention too, it's like, as a leader in a leadership position, you know, to a certain degree, part of the culture is on you. If the culture is shit, even if you yourself are not doing anything to promote that, that's still partially on you. That's leadership. Like, you know, I've seen some pretty shitty army units, and it's because you might have even just 1 or 2 bad eggs, but they're ruining it for everyone. And it's like, if the rest of the chain of command isn't one to go and be like, hey, you can't be doing this kind of shit, you're going to ruin the whole batch. You know, people are going to be like, hey, this place is shit. Well, you know, even if it's just 1 or 2 people, hey, you ruined it. Get them the fuck out of there.
And it continues on saying how we made significant investments in more inclusion, diversity, buzzwords that mean nothing at the end of the day. Investing in strengthening our DE&I employee networks. I think they mentioned that before somewhere in the clusterfuck of words here. Creating global networks to bring together the efforts. Oh, so we read some of this stuff already. She's literally repeating the what's her face,
what are they really
PR
trying to say?
statement. She's literally repeating the PR statement with this specific asterisk here. Then saying introducing new learning and development programs, including inclusive hiring training, amplifying internal programs such as Way to Play Heroes and recurring Speak Up campaign, reinforcing channels for employees to report violations, including the asterisk. So we already read some of this stuff. She continues writing, though, we put tremendous effort into creating fair compensation policies that reflect our commitment to equal opportunity. We review compensation regularly and feel confident that we pay all employees fairly for equal or substantially similar work. We take proactive steps to ensure that pay and advancement are driven by merit. We reward performance, and we conduct extensive anti-discrimination trainings, including for those who are part of the compensation process. We work with a company.
It literally just sounds like some HR director.
It sounds like PR nonsense. Sounds like PR nonsense, especially since we know it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, that's the entire reason why this is happening.
It's just a bunch of executive babbling. And it's like, yeah, it just sucks. So there you have it. I think we've talked this topic to death. We'll probably at some point, there's going to be updates for sure. So we'll probably cover it again, like in a week or two from now. So I can.
By the way, since we're getting off that topic on out, Star Citizen update. There has been an update to the public test universe, the PTU, which again is open to all backers currently. They have finally fixed Orison's atmosphere limit. So before there was a glitch where if you spawned or flew to Orison, to escape Orison and use your quantum drive again, you would have to go out to 750 kilometers from the city, whereas now you are back to the original distance, which is 150 kilometers. That's what it should be, and it is back to that now. So hooray!
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Activision Blizzard's stupid.
Much.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
So moving on to the next topic, though. So the reason why I call EA easily accessible is because first they got hacked, and the hackers talked about how easy it was to hack it, but also talked about how they got access to some of the Frostbite engine source code, and they hacked into FIFA, I think it was. Now we're getting talks about Apex Legends getting hacked because their system sucks. Titanfall on PC is horrible because it's full of cheaters and hackers. And now Titanfall 2 servers have been hit by hackers. And Respawn has 1 to 2 people working on a security fix. Clearly EA does not care about security.
Well, no. Look, if we hire people to do security, that takes money away from us.
So real quick in the chat, we have Tehilm29 saying, "Good to see you, Cast in Shadows. Hope I'm not too late." No, you are not, good sir. And
nor are you early. You are precisely when you mean to.
Says, "I need to lurk for a few more minutes. Need to make a happy birthday vid for a friend." Cool, enjoy. Yeah, here. So over the past week, Titanfall 2 players have been dealing with an unplayable game after the same hacking group that took over Apex Legends servers allegedly took the multiplayer portion of Titanfall 2. Players have been taking to online to vent frustrations over deliberate sabotage of servers, while others are bidding a lamentful farewell to the beloved game. But before you start uttering out that eulogy, all is not lost yet. Respawn Entertainment is working on security issues regarding Titanfall 2, but the size of the team isn't offering much hope. And then you have the original report state that Titanfall 2 community came via PureBox as the game servers continue to be destroyed region by region. The sabotage rendered the game completely unplayable, but Respawn is working on a fix. That Respawn community manager Jason Garza recently held another morning tea livestream where he addressed the community that feels abandoned. You are not abandoned. He continues talking about the security fixes in the works because now it's different type. Now it's a different type of game with these people who DDoS and stuff like that, and blacklist and things like that. So we can't telegraph our moves. We can't say what we're doing. All I can say is we're working on it. Which, I mean, yes, he's not wrong, but at the same time does kind of sound like we don't know what we're doing. We only have a few, one or two people on it because everyone else is on Apex, the Battle Royale game that honestly is getting more hype than it deserves. And yeah, that's pretty much the story there. So EA just really hackable.
Yeah, fuck them.
The original story kind of goes into more detail. Less detail, but it... Yeah. Which kind of sucks though. It's like, Titanfall's a good game. Thankfully, I liked it for the campaign, the single player. I hated the multiplayer actually. Which is funny because I loved the first Titanfall when it came out. Which was only multiplayer. But I wanted a single player of it. Titanfall delivered, so I'm like, okay, why don't I need to play multiplayer? I wanted the single player, so. But yeah, this EA got hacked. That's it. Google's also experiencing some trouble. Google launched a Android game development kit, which is, I mean, interesting, I suppose. But for anyone who wants to make mobile games, that's great. But they also are getting sued by 37 U.S. states over Play Store monopoly. So Google's getting sued by 37 states in the U.S. Because of the Play Store, the Google Play Store. Claiming that the Google Play Store is not fair, according to Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes. It must stop using its monopolistic power and hyper-dominant market position market position to unlawfully leverage billions of added dollars from smaller companies, competitors, and customers beyond that what it should be paid. And it's pretty much just like anti-monopoly types lawsuits and stuff like that.
Which is sorely needed for a lot of these.
Which is, good, I think. Because the problem is, whenever competition to any of these companies does start up, these companies are very quick to shut them down or buy them out. So that they have no competition.
Because all you have to do, like we had said before, all you gotta do is throw a lawsuit at them, and even if they know they'll lose the suit, well, cool, but you drag it on long enough, they run out of money because they still have to respond to it, and, we win by nature of having more money. La 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 la.
Next, we also have Netflix. Netflix is getting into gaming. We talked about that a few weeks ago as well. So they're doing it is confirmed they are doing mobile gaming stuff. Last week. We talked about how they're going to be doing mobile gaming. They're hiring Facebook and EA executives and the head of their mobile studio stuff. So it was kind of just a logical conclusion. But now we have confirmation that they are doing mobile games based off of their original IPs. And that's pretty much that. They hired a new VP of gaming, which is, as we said, what did he do in EA? He was a former EA and Facebook executive. At EA, he was the senior vice president of mobile at EA, and at Facebook, he was part of their Facebook Reality Labs, overseeing Oculus Studios and all their Facebook virtual reality stuff. Probably was involved in their virtual reality in-game ad stuff before he left. So they're getting into gaming. Netflix games push in its early stages with focus on mobile. This is nothing new, really. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We got some Gamescom news. We talked about it again last week, but in case anyone didn't see that, pretty much we have a list of companies that are confirmed for showing up at Gamescom. 505 Games, Activision, you can see it all here on screen. I'll put size here so you can see it better. There you go. Ghostwire Tokyo got delayed to 2022 for what seemingly good reasons. Like, they said the right things. It sounds like they wanted to push it back because of they wanted to have more time to make the game. They didn't. I'm just going off of memory. I can just pull up the article though. Sorry, copy and pasting. They talked about how at this, we want to get the game to you in your hands as soon as possible, but at the same time, we're focused on protecting the health of everyone at Tango GameWorks. Our new release window will give us time to bring the world of Ghostwire to life as we always envisioned. So that's kind of good things. It was originally supposed to release later this year, but it's going to be next year now. So, some arbitrary gaming news. I think that's really it, though. I think we covered everything. Unless you wanna cover the Halo stuff, otherwise we can cover that Wednesday. Yeah.
Sorry, what? You're cutting in and out for me.
Oh, I was saying that I think we're done with the gaming news, unless you want to cover the Halo stuff, because we can do that Wednesday, if not today.
Yeah, let's do it Wednesday. We've been going for a good bit here.
Yeah. This way we can just focus only on that Wednesday, and then just quickly play a game or something. Yeah, this has been episode 33 of Cast and Shadows. Hope you guys enjoyed. At the full, we're finally going to be back at full strength now, so that's nice.
Supposedly.
Well, we were for this episode.
Supposedly.
Saying you guys aren't actually here, I'm imagining all this.
Maybe, maybe not. Who wants to know?
I wouldn't be surprised if I was. But yeah, so we learned that Activision Blizzard are just downright evil. We learned that EA stands for easily accessible, and we learned that the SteamDeck is really cool, but won't be coming for another year or so.
And expensive.
Possibly a little over a year. I'd say like a year and 3 months at most, as of right now. So it's and I need to edit the description. I'm gonna put all the links in lieu of the new format of the podcast. I'm going to change up the format a bit of the description, so this way all the sources are in the description itself instead of having to put it in the comment section. Kind of annoying. So instead, in the comment section, I'll just put links to all of our merch and stuff if you want to help support the channel in a more monetary way. But if you want to help support the channel, like, share, subscribe, all that. Leaving comments actually does help a lot with the algorithm. So, if you have, and also, if you're catching this on the rerun and you're not catching this live, what do you guys think of all this? What do you guys think of Activision Blizzard's conduct and mistreatment of their employees? What do you think of the SteamDeck? What do you think of EA getting hacked all the damn time? We're interested in hearing your opinions. So, anyway, until next time, which will be, I guess, Wednesday. Same time, same bat channel. Wednesday at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back with some more, I guess, with some Halo news, and then probably play some games. Probably Star Citizen, because that's really all we play, isn't it? Alright. You guys have any final statements that we should say? I don't know.
Don't do drugs. No, wait, what was it? Don't do school, stay on drugs, and get 8 hours of milk.
Yes, I'm not so thick as you drunk I am approach.
That too.
I need to work on like an outro graphic or something. I have an old one, but it's outdated, and I want to do something. Now, in the meantime, enjoy Galvatron.